Chapter 425. The Boundary Emperor blasted Chu Kuangren away with a palm attack. After flying for hundreds of meters, Chu Kuangren steadied himself and smiled. Instead of dealing with me, you should think about how to deal with the heavenly tribulation first. The third wave of heavenly tribulation is coming soon. His words caused the light around the two quasi-emperors to flicker uncertainly. Although they could not see their expressions clearly, it was obvious that they were not feeling good. The Boundary Emperors were defeated by Chu Kuangren. No matter who it was, they would not feel good about it. This guy has that strange immortal ability, so it won't be easy to kill him. The tribulation lightning that he has to withstand is much stronger than ours. Let's think of a way to block it first. As for him, let the tribulation lightning kill him. I don't believe he can handle this kind of heavenly tribulation. Boundary Emperor Hai Yi snorted. That's good. We're Boundary Emperors, and we're much stronger than him. Even if he has an Emperor weapon, he won't be able to block this heavenly tribulation. Boundary Emperor Changquang said. However, the other sages were shocked. Indeed, the Boundary Emperors were confident that they could block the heavenly tribulation before Chu Kuangren was killed, but they had no confidence at all. This was especially true for the ordinary sages. As for escaping, the heavenly tribulation had already locked onto them. There was no way out. Boundary Emperor, please save us. As long as the Quasi-Emperor can save us, we will definitely be at your beck and call in the future. We will spare no effort until our deaths. Please help us, Boundary Emperor. The sages did not care about their dignity and quickly asked for help. Stand behind us. Boundary Emperor Changquang said after a moment of silence. The crowd was delighted and gathered behind the two Boundary Emperors. Boom! The third wave of tribulation lightning struck. Boundary Emperor Changquang raised his hand and formed a light barrier. The tribulation lightning landed on it, creating ripples. When the tribulation lightning dissipated, the sages were unscathed with the help of the Boundary Emperors. As expected of a Boundary Emperor. How powerful! With the Boundary Emperors, we have nothing to worry about. Now we just have to wait and see how Chu Kuangren dies. The sages breathed a sigh of relief. They then looked at Chu Kuangren with resentment. However, Chu Kuangren remained calm and did not care at all. When the third tribulation lightning struck, he continued to withstand it with his body. Heaven and Earth Furnace Physique activated. A large amount of tribulation lightning was converted into pure energy and stored in his body. However, to the others, it was a messy scene of Chu Kuangren being blasted away by the third tribulation lightning and spitting out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but gloat. Retribution, this is retribution. Chu Kuangren, you've done so much injustice that even the heavenly Tao can't stand by and watch any longer. Such a terrifying heavenly tribulation has descended to take your life. Not bad. Boom boom. The fourth wave of tribulation lightning, the fifth wave, the tribulation lightning was getting stronger and stronger. By the time the sixth wave of tribulation lightning arrived, even Quasi-Emperor Changguang felt that it was a little troublesome. Its power had already reached the limit of a holy king. Furthermore, there were still more than 100 people present. In other words, he had to block more than 100 tribulation lightning bolts that contain the power of a saint king. Fellow Daoist Hai Yu, let's attack together. All right. The two great Boundary Emperors joined forces and two majestic Daoist rhymes instantly erupted, turning into two barriers that blocked the hundreds of tribulation lightning bolts. The tribulation lightning struck the barrier, causing loud rumbling sounds to ring out. The power that escaped from it caused the surrounding mountains to be continuously destroyed. It was like the end of the world, causing everyone's hearts to palpitate. The hundreds of tribulation lightning bolts dissipated. Meanwhile, Boundary Emperor Changguang and Boundary Emperor Hai Yi had also dispersed the spiritual light that shrouded their bodies, revealing their true appearances. Boundary Emperor Changguang was an old man in a light yellow robe, while Boundary Emperor Hai Yi was a middle-aged man with a single horn on his head. Both of them looked at the tribulation clouds with a solemn expression. They could feel that the heavenly tribulation's aura was getting more and more terrifying. If this goes on, we won't be able to protect these sages during the 7th wave of tribulation lightning, Boundary Emperor Chang Guang said solemnly. Chu Kuangren must die under this tribulation lightning. Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren anxiously. If Chu Kuangren did not die, they would definitely die in the next wave of tribulation lightning. Without the help of a boundary emperor, they could not withstand it. At that moment, Chu Kuangren looked a little disheveled. His hair was disheveled, and he was covered in blood. However, upon closer inspection, his eyes were extraordinarily spirited. Not only was he not afraid when he looked at the tribulation clouds, but he was also looking forward to it. After several waves of tribulation lightning, he had accumulated a large amount of energy. Now, he had a 70% chance of forming the Supreme Sage Foundation level. However, he still wanted more. Rumble, the 6th wave of tribulation lightning was brewing. It was a colorful giant python that was condensed from endless lightning energy. With a roar, it charged towards Chu Kuangren. Die now. Chu Kuangren, hurry up and die. Everyone stared at the colorful giant python and cursed Chu Kuangren. Boom. With a loud bang, Chu Kuangren was smashed by the giant python, and the violent energy formed a deep pit on the ground. Chu Kuangren was smashed by the giant python and sank thousands of meters into the ground. Terrifying tribulation lightning energy exploded underground, causing the surrounding tens of thousands of li, or even the entire Dao province, to tremble. It was a shocking scene. Did it work? Is Chu Kuangren dead? Even with the Emperor weapon's protection, his body will be instantly shattered by the recoil force. Coupled with the lightning's corrosion, I'm afraid he'll be reduced to ashes. He must be dead. The sages looked at each other with a hint of joy in their eyes. However, a loud bang suddenly came from the sky. This sound directly shattered the hopes of all the sages, causing them to sink into an even deeper despair. That loud bang meant that the 7th wave of tribulation lightning was coming. Chu Kuangren was not dead yet. But why? Why isn't Chu Kuangren dead yet? A minute, I don't want to die. Boundary Emperor, please think of something. Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang and the great sage looked at the colorful lightning pythons in the sky with a solemn look on their faces. Each of those colorful lightning pythons was equivalent to a Boundary Emperor's attack. Good luck to all of you. Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang said coldly. As soon as he said that, everyone's face turned ashen. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. One of the great sages could no longer withstand the pressure. He frantically tried to escape from the tribulation cloud's area of effect. However, he soon ran into a colorful barrier. That was the light of heavenly tribulation. It was a barrier that prevented ascension cultivators from escaping. Since ancient times, no one had ever been able to break through this barrier. Even the great sage's crazy attacks were futile. The 7th wave of tribulation lightning bolted down. Colorful lightning serpents slithered around and tore at each and every one of them. One by one, the sages were easily turned into ashes by this power. Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang and Boundary Emperor Hai Yu attacked at the same time, blocking the 2 colorful lightning pythons that were coming at them. Sage ruler Zhang Guang and the others also used their trump cards to fight against the colorful lightning pythons. When the 7th wave of tribulation lightning dissipated, only the 2 boundary emperors, Sage ruler Zhang Guang, Master Daoist Yun Tao, the Acheron Manor Lord, the Palace Lord of Death, and the Great Chasm Dweller were left alive. As for the craggy Ocean Tower Lord, his trump card was not strong enough, so he was killed by the colorful lightning pythons. On the firmament star, all the powerhouses who had witnessed this scene were speechless. There was an indescribable shock in their hearts. Chapter 426. The 9-colored heavenly tribulation was too terrifying. It was a sage heavenly tribulation, yet it could easily kill a sage ruler. No one in this era had ever seen a heavenly tribulation like this before. Such power shocked them to their core. Boom! A figure dashed out from the crater. It was Chu Kuangren. He stood in the air, ready to welcome his 7th tribulation lightning. He glanced at Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang and the others and chuckled. Oh, it's only you guys left. You guys aren't very useful. Chu Kuangren. Sage ruler Zhang Guang and the others gritted their teeth and glared at him. However, it was useless. If looks could kill, Chu Kuangren would have died a few times over. A deafening rumble echoed in the air. Chu Kuangren's seventh tribulation lightning had formed. It was a power that could shake half of the firmament star. Two claws reached out from the giant colorful vortex, followed by the head, neck, and body. It was a thunder dragon. A colorful thunder dragon. Just the Daoist rhyme that emanated from its body was enough to make the remaining sage rulers tremble in fear. The thunder dragon let out an angry roar. Its roar was enough to destroy 1,000 mountains. Endless lightning energy spread out, and half of the sky seemed to be torn apart. Oh my God, this is only the 7th tribulation lightning. There's still the 8th and 9th tribulation lightning. It seems like this is a bit too much. Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin and muttered. No matter how demonic he was, he should not have summoned a heavenly tribulation of this level. However, he had dragged hundreds of thousands of people into the heavenly tribulation, and that had increased his heavenly tribulation to an unimaginable level. With an angry roar, the terrifying thunder dragon swooped down. Its aura almost crushed the heavens and earth. Every cultivator who witnessed this scene could not help but tremble in fear. Come on. Chu Kuangren stood proudly and activated the gluttonous devouring technique. The blood and flesh essences of the dead cultivators were absorbed into his body and converted into spiritual power. Then, he activated the 9 deaths blazing blood art. His spiritual power was not used to strengthen the innate ferocious armor's defense, but to activate the universal cauldron physique. Boom! The thunder dragon and Chu Kuangren collided. At that moment, a terrifying suction force erupted from Chu Kuangren's body, sucking in all the energy within the thunder dragon into his body. It was as if Chu Kuangren had transformed into a gigantic furnace, using his spiritual power as fuel to smelt that terrifying thunder dragon. The lightning energy that was as boundless as the sea was completely absorbed. This scene caused everyone to be dumbfounded. They did not know exactly what had happened. However, they saw Chu Kuangren block the tribulation lightning. The faces of sage ruler Zhang Guang and the others were filled with despair. Just as Chu Kuangren blocked the 7th tribulation lightning, sage ruler Zhang Guang and the others faced the 8th tribulation lightning. Similarly, it was a terrifying rainbow-colored lightning dragon. A total of 7 lightning dragons spiraled in the sky, dyeing the horizon colorful. A terrifying might filled the air, shaking the heavens and earth. The faces of the 2 quasi-emperors were exceptionally ugly. Roar, roar. With 7 consecutive roars, 7 dragons swooped down at the same time. Sage ruler Zhang Guang, the Acheron Manor Lord, and the others gave their all, but they still could not block the attack. The moment they came into contact with the dragons, they were turned into ashes. The 2 quasi-emperors also gave their all. They each took out their respective boundary emperor weapons and clashed with the rainbow-colored lightning dragon. This was a battle between 2 quasi-emperors. It was a rare sight in the firmament star, so everyone had their eyes glued to the scene. The Daoist rhymes of the boundary emperors erupted and formed an earth-shattering palm energy. A surging torrent of water blasted towards the lightning dragon. With a loud explosion, streaks of white patterns appeared in the void. It was a sign that the void was about to be torn apart. Finally, the lightning dragon dissipated. The 2 boundary emperors were sent flying and landed on the ground with their faces ashen. Their faces were as pale as a sheet, and their auras were weak. Even the boundary emperors were injured by that tribulation lightning. However, it was not over yet. The tribulation clouds in the sky had yet to dissipate. On the contrary, more and more terrifying energy was gathering. Half of the living beings in the firmament star could feel its domineering aura. The stronger the cultivator, the more they shuddered. Chu Kuangren looked at the giant rainbow-colored whirlpool in the sky with a serious look in his eyes. His 8th tribulation lightning was coming. Within the rainbow-colored whirlpool, a large amount of lightning gathered and formed a giant rainbow-colored thunderball with a diameter of hundreds of meters. The thunderball slowly descended, and its domineering aura locked onto Chu Kuangren. Wherever it went, white cracks would appear in the void. The two Boundary Emperor's pupils dilated when they saw it. They could not block it. If they were in Chu Kuangren's shoes, they would not be able to block that thunderball. Chu Kuangren, he must die this time. If he doesn't die, then his 8th tribulation lightning will be our 9th tribulation lightning. When that time comes, both of us will die. Boundary Emperor Chang Kuang and Boundary Emperor Hai Yi looked at each other. Then both of them attacked at the same time. Despite their injuries, they channeled their spiritual energies and unleashed their emperor techniques at Chu Kuangren. Heavenly Golden Heavenly Palm. With a palm attack, the heavenly golden chi rumbled and turned into a palm chi that descended from the sky. It was one step faster than the tribulation lightning and was aimed at Chu Kuangren. Heavenly Heavy Water. Boundary Emperor Hai Ye's Daoist rhyme manifested and formed a black torrential force around Chu Kuangren. It then turned into a water rope that bound him tightly. Chu Kuangren snorted. Although he was no match for the two Boundary Emperors. However, he was not going to sit and wait for his death. The sea of clouds within a 10-kilometer radius suddenly rumbled, and a ferocious cloud dragon emerged. It was the strongest formation spirit of the astonishing Sea of Clouds formation. This formation spirit had been destroyed by a sage ruler once before, but as long as the astonishing Sea of Clouds formation was not destroyed, this formation spirit would never die. However, Chu Kuangren had previously used the formation to conceal the heavenly tribulation's aura, so he could not divert his attention to summon this cloud dragon again. However, there was no need for him to conceal it now. With a thought, the astonishing Sea of Clouds formation quickly activated, and the cloud dragon soared into the sky and collided with the palm seal. Chu Kuangren channeled the formation with all his might. This cloud dragon was much more powerful than before, and it was no weaker than a Boundary Emperor's attack. With a loud explosion, the palm attack was shattered. However, the cloud dragon's power did not dissipate, and it continued to charge towards the two Boundary Emperors. I can't believe this guy can summon a formation like this. The two Boundary Emperors' expressions changed slightly. If they were at their peak, they would not have felt any pressure facing this cloud dragon. However, they were now exhausted, and they had just used their emperor techniques to attack Chu Kuangren. Hence, they only had 10 to 20% of their original strength left. He was actually forced back by the remnant power of the cloud dragon. Chu Kuangren did not pursue them either. He looked at the descending thunderball and unleashed the full power of his innate ferocious armor, and the divine ferocious avatar was formed. The power of this thunderball was too terrifying. He had to find a way to disintegrate a part of it, or else the universal cauldron physique would not be able to convert it. Boom, boom, boom. The divine ferocious avatar kept swinging its fists. One punch after another, it was like a torrential storm. Countless fist energies landed on the thunderball, causing ripples to erupt. However, no matter how strong these fist energies were, they could not disintegrate much of the thunder energy. In the end, most of the thunderball landed. Chu Kuangren's divine ferocious avatar collided with the thunderball, and in less than a breath's time, the avatar was shattered. Chapter 427. When the lightning sphere enveloped Chu Kuangren, the powerful lightning energy was already madly attacking the innate ferocious armor. Although the emperor weapon was extremely powerful, a large amount of lightning energy was still transmitted to Chu Kuangren's body through the weapon. At that moment, his body was torn apart. At that moment, Chu Kuangren activated the universal cauldron physique to its limit. A large amount of lightning energy was converted, but there was still a portion that could not be converted in time, and it continued to destroy Chu Kuangren's body. The immortal body was activated. His broken body quickly healed. With the help of his two godly physiques, Chu Kuangren was able to survive the 8th tribulation lightning strike while recovering and absorbing the energy at the same time. Only one left. Chu Kuangren grinned. His ascension into a sage could be said to be the most powerful heavenly tribulation in history. However, there was still one more tribulation lightning, and he would be able to survive it. By then, with his accumulated foundation, he could instantly ascend into a sage. He could even form the Supreme Sage Foundation level in one go. Boom! Two giant lightning spheres once again formed in the sky. It was the 9th tribulation lightning from the 2 boundary emperors. Farewell, both of you. Chu Kuangren looked at the 2 boundary emperors and smiled. The lightning spheres descended. The 2 exhausted boundary emperors could not withstand such a terrifying power. Even if they tried their best, they would only be turned into ashes. Following the fall of the boundary emperors, every strong cultivator in the firmament star felt their eyelids twitch. That was a boundary emperor, and he was gone just like that. This Chu Kuangren was too terrifying. With the fall of the boundary emperors, Chu Kuangren was the only one left. A colorful beam of light shot out from the colorful tribulation cloud vortex and enveloped Chu Kuangren within it. Then, an endless amount of lightning energy poured down from the sky and crashed onto Chu Kuangren's body like a raging torrent. That was the 9th tribulation lightning. Chu Kuangren felt an extremely terrifying pressure. The ground beneath his feet instantly caved in, forming a 10,000-foot crater. Not only that, but with the beam of light as the epicenter, cracks began to appear on the ground within a 10,000-kilometer radius. Come on! Chu Kuangren let out a low growl and activated his innate ferocious armor to its limit to defend against the lightning energy. As for those that he could not defend against, he used his universal cauldron physique to continuously absorb them. If he could not absorb them all, he would use his immortal body to recover the damaged parts of his body. Just like that, he fought against the last tribulation lightning. This tribulation lightning lasted far longer than any of the previous ones. Even after 20 breaths of time had passed, it still hadn't dissipated. The tribulation lightning's energy seemed to be endless as it continued to fall from the sky. It was as if he would not rest until he killed Chu Kuangren. All the powerhouses on Firmament Star were watching. Today, they had witnessed one after another miracles that were impossible to happen in Chu Kuangren's hands. Now, they wanted to see if he could survive this unprecedented heavenly tribulation and become the first person in history. Within the light pillar, Chu Kuangren was enduring the terrifying tribulation lightning energy. His worldly cauldron physique had already reached its limit, but there was still nearly a third of the tribulation lightning energy that could not be converted. It was crazily destroying his body. Even Quasi-Emperor Changguang and Quasi-Emperor Hai Yu would not be able to withstand it. Chu Kuangren relied on his immortal body to stubbornly resist. However, he could clearly feel that the recovery speed of his immortal body could no longer keep up with the speed at which it was being destroyed. His flesh and blood were constantly being eroded. Instead of turning into chunks of flesh, they were gradually turning into fine ashes. If his whole body were to be blasted into ashes, with his third realm immortal body, he would probably die for sure. Under such a life-threatening situation, not only did Chu Kuangren not feel the slightest fear, he even felt an inexplicable excitement. Is this the thrill of fighting with your life on the line? This is so exciting. Crack! Chu Kuangren's knees suddenly cracked, and his legs could not help but bend. Just as he was about to kneel, he forcefully held himself back. Ignoring his legs that were about to break, he slowly straightened his back. By the heavens, are you trying to see who can last longer? Bring it on. Chu Kuangren growled. His worldly cauldron physique that was originally absorbing the lightning energy began to refine the energy stored within his body. At that moment, an incomparably majestic amount of energy was converted into pure spiritual power that was injected into Chu Kuangren's spiritual mound, rapidly increasing his cultivation level. He had forcefully broken through the realm before the ascension was over. How much energy was stored in the worldly cauldron physique? It was too much. The demonic potion of the demonic hoarder forefather, the hellfire, the sage ruler's soul energies, the 4 great wild beasts' soul energies, the tribulation lightning. He even took out the 9-headed snakelet, the serpent deity, and the boundary emperor's corpses and placed them into the avarice dimension to absorb their flesh and blood essences. All of these energies were converted into spiritual power and injected into his spiritual mound, allowing Chu Kuangren's cultivation level to advance towards the sage realm. Within his spiritual mound, the 6 supreme foundation levels radiated with divine splendor. A surge of Daoist rhymes echoed within his spiritual mound, and a purple lotus gradually formed. That lotus had a total of 9 petals. Each petal flowed with an extremely mysterious Daoist rhyme. That was the sage foundation level, the lotus of heart from his spiritual mound. 9 petals meant that this was a 9th grade supreme sage foundation level. Around the lotus of heart, the other 6 supreme foundation levels continued to release their divine splendor. Their Daoist rhymes circulated and resonated with the lotus of heart. As the 9-petal lotus of heart gradually formed, the entire firmament star trembled. A large amount of purple haze rose from the horizon and stretched for tens of thousands of kilometers. The endless purple haze surged towards Chu Kuangren's direction. All the cultivators who witnessed this scene were extremely shocked. This is the purple haze rises 30,000 miles from the east. F***ck me, this is a horrifying phenomenon that only a supreme sage can produce. I don't think there have been many supreme sages since ancient times. Oh my God! It was not only the firmament star. Above the firmament star, a large amount of purple haze also rose from the 9 heavens and earthly boundaries. It circled the sky and spread out endlessly. All the ancient beings in the 9 heavens were shocked. The purple haze rises 30,000 miles from the east, the birth of a supreme sage. Who is it? Who is it that has become a supreme sage at this time? Could it be an unparalleled genius? How many years has it been? In these endless years, another supreme sage has appeared. This era of great battles is getting more and more lively. The ancient beings in the 9 heavens continued to search the 9 heavens, but they could not find the source of the purple haze rises 30,000 miles from the east. If it's not in the 9 heavens, then where? Don't tell me it's in the firmament star? Stop joking. No matter how terrifying a supreme sage in the firmament star is, it can't affect the 9 heavens. Looks like it's been hidden by someone. Meanwhile, under the firmament star, in the underworld demonic realm, a large amount of purple haze suddenly rose from the sky. For countless years, the sky that had always been dark and blood-red suddenly had a different color, shocking the entire demonic realm. Purple haze rises 30,000 miles from the east. A supreme sage has appeared. Our underworld demonic realm has never had a supreme sage for so many years, but now one has appeared in this era of great battles. The heavens are definitely blessing the demonic realm. The demonic realm shall rise. Quick, find this supreme sage. Just like the 9 heavens, the great beings of the underworld demonic realm were also searching for the source of the purple haze, but they found nothing. One person became a sage, and the 3 realms were shaken. Chapter 428. Under the heavenly tribulation light beam, Chu Kuangren forcefully broke through the realm. In his spiritual mound, the purple 9-petal heart lotus was becoming more and more solid. At this moment, all the great beings on the firmament star were watching in awe. A supreme sage was truly a rare sight to behold. Even rarer than the emperors of old. Not many emperors were supreme sages before they became emperors. If a supreme sage were to become an emperor, he would be an unparalleled emperor. Under the heavenly tribulation light beam, the terrifying lightning energy continued to destroy Chu Kuangren's body. However, as his cultivation level increased crazily, his immortal body was also evolving. From the 3rd to the 4th level. During this process, his immortal body's healing speed increased by many times, and it could now keep up with the lightning's destructive speed. Looks like I'm the one who can last longer. Chu Kuangren grinned. After a while, the heavenly tribulation light beam slowly dissipated. He had successfully passed the 9th tribulation lightning. At that moment, all the great ones were in shock. He did it. I can't believe he really did it. It's unbelievable that he could even pass through a heavenly tribulation like this. Terrifying, an unprecedented peerless saint has appeared. The tribulation lightning dissipated. The purple heart lotus in Chu Kuangren's body was about to form too. However, the heart lotus suddenly trembled. Chu Kuangren sensed something strange and looked up into the sky. He had passed through the 9th tribulation lightning, but the horrifying colorful tribulation clouds in the sky still did not dissipate. What's going on? Is there still tribulation lightning? Chu Kuangren frowned. Not only him, but the others were also surprised. That can't be. The Sage Ascension Tribulation only has 9 tribulation lightning. This is an unchanging rule. Why are the tribulation clouds still there? Unless it's the heavenly punishment. One of the great ones seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said in fear, the heavenly punishment. It was an existence that was one level higher than the heavenly tribulation. Since ancient times, the heavenly punishment would only appear when there was an anomaly that was not tolerated by the heavens and earth. However, such anomalies were too rare. Boom, boom, boom. Rumbling sounds came from the colorful vortex in the sky. A heavenly Dao aura that was more terrifying than the heavenly tribulation instantly spread and covered the entire firmament star. Countless living beings were shocked. It really is the heavenly punishment. Countless mighty figures who were watching this tribulation were astonished. In the 9 heavens, the powerful beings of the hell demon world also sensed something. An anomaly has been born in this world, and it has attracted heavenly punishment? Could it be the Supreme Saint? It can't be. Breaking through to the sage level will attract the heavenly punishment? If that's the case, then it's not as simple as a supreme sage. What kind of taboo existence is undergoing tribulation? Even those primordial emperor clans and primordial descendants do not have such ability. Isn't this a little too exaggerated? Firmament star, Black Heaven sect. Chu Kuangren stared at the tribulation clouds in the sky. The terrifying domineering aura that permeated the surroundings had caused the air in this part of the world to become incomparably viscous. He felt as if he was now in the depths of a quagmire, unable to move at all. Hey, this is a little too much. Chu Kuangren clicked his tongue. A 9-colored heavenly tribulation wasn't enough, and now there was even a heavenly punishment. Did the heavens really want to kill him? Just when Chu Kuangren was about to risk his life, he saw streaks of colorful chains descending from the tribulation clouds in the sky. Those colorful chains seemed to be formed by countless runes, and they surged with a mysterious Daoist rhyme, as well as the heavenly Dao's domineering aura. The chains tightly wrapped around Chu Kuangren's body like lightning, then turned into countless light dots that merged into his body. At that moment, Chu Kuangren felt that the spiritual power and thoughts in his body had been sealed, and he could not use them at all. The heavenly punishment seal. I can't believe it's the heavenly punishment seal. I heard that this seal can seal a person's entire cultivation level. Even an emperor would become a defenseless commoner if they were sealed by this seal. I can't believe the heavenly punishment seal has sealed Chu Kuangren in such a way, making him live like a commoner from now on. That's too cruel. It'd be better to just kill him. Many great ones recognized the heavenly punishment seal. Some were gloating, while others felt sorry for Chu Kuangren. In the sky, after the heavenly punishment seal descended, the colorful tribulation clouds finally dissipated, and the world returned to its original clarity. However, the land that was riddled with holes was a testament to the tragic battle that took place here. Chu Kuangren frowned as he sensed the spiritual power within his body. His spiritual mound was filled with colorful heavenly punishment chains. His 6 great foundation levels and the purple lotus heart that had yet to fully form were all restricted, and he could not use any of his spiritual power at all. The purple haze comes from the east 30,000 miles transformation also disappeared the moment Chu Kuangren was struck by the heavenly punishment seal. All the great ones in the firmament star shook their heads and sighed. This Chu Kuangren is indeed a monster. He almost single-handedly wiped out the million-strong allied army, including 2 boundary emperors. Unfortunately, he still couldn't escape the heavenly punishment in the end. Sigh, this person's strength has reached the point where the heavens and earth cannot tolerate him anymore. From today onwards, this world will have one less peerless sky pride. But this is good too. With this person around, the others can forget about rising to the top. It's a good seal indeed. There were also great ones who wanted to take the opportunity to attack Chu Kuangren. However, after the tribulation clouds dissipated, the astonishing cloud of seas formation was activated again. This formation was truly terrifying. Without a boundary emperor's cultivation base, even a sage ruler would not dare to take the risk. In the end, everyone could only suppress their thoughts. After all, to them, the heavenly punishment seal that even the emperors of old could not break was definitely not something Chu Kuangren could do. There was no need to enter the astonishing cloud of C's formation just to kill someone who had become an ordinary person. That was too risky. In the 9 heavens and the underworld demonic realm, the Great Ones could not help but feel sorry for the disappearance of the purple haze comes from the east phenomenon. It seems that the Supreme Sage did not successfully reappear. Has he been destroyed by the heavenly punishment seal? What a pity! The Great Ones only lamented for a while before they no longer cared about it. They still had many important things to do next. In the era of great battles, the Emperor's opportunity was something they had to fight for. They had already prepared to send people to Firmament Star to fight for it. Meanwhile, on Firmament Star, the news of Chu Kuangren single-handedly killing a 1,000,000-strong cultivator army, including 2 boundary emperors, had spread like wildfire, shocking countless people. Naturally, the news of Chu Kuangren being sealed by the heavenly punishment seal could not be kept a secret. The commotion this time was too huge. Chu Kuangren has been sealed by the heavenly punishment seal? Huh, that's great. Although he's not dead, he can forget about fighting with us from now on. He's lucky to not die. What a heroic spirit to drag hundreds of thousands of people to ascend with him. Too bad he's still lost to the heavenly Dao. Now that he's sealed, the world will be ours from now on. Many sky prides who were suppressed by Chu Kuangren began to show their talents and continue to perform in the era of great battles. It was as if Chu Kuangren's seal had ended an era. Chapter 429. The Black Heaven sect was once again enveloped by the astonishing cloud of C's formation, so no one could spy on what was going on inside. Many people had already left. An era has ended. My youth is gone. Many people shook their heads and sighed. Chu Kuangren had created too many miracles over the years, especially this time. His unprecedented feat of pulling hundreds of thousands of people through ascension had earned him a lot of respect and admiration. Coupled with his handsome looks, he had won the hearts of many female cultivators, and they all became his loyal fans. However, this time, Chu Kuangren was sealed by the heavenly punishment seal and became a normal person. This made many of his fans very upset. Chu Kuangren, even if his glory days are over, it's undeniable that he's the first person in history. His era has ended, but his legend will live on in the new era and be known by countless people. A cultivator could not help but exclaim. The crowd gradually dispersed. It was foreseeable that without Chu Kuangren's suppression, the sky prides of this world would become lively again. The next era belonged to these sky prides. As for Chu Kuangren, no matter how legendary he was, it was all in the past now. Inside the Black Heaven sect, the elusive mirage arrived before Chu Kuangren. The crowd descended from the elusive mirage and hurried to Chu Kuangren. Many of them were worried when they saw the heavenly punishment seal. Sect leader, how are you? Elder Ruyan asked. I'm all right. Chu Kuangren smiled. Elder Ruyan was heartbroken when she heard that. What do you mean, all right? That's the heavenly punishment seal we're talking about. Heh, it's just a seal. I'm still alive. Although Chu Kuangren was a little concerned about the heavenly punishment seal, he believed that he could not break free from it as long as he was still alive. The emperors of old could not. However, that did not mean that Chu Kuangren could not. Elder Ruyan, pass on my orders. The Black Heaven sect shall temporarily hide from the world, and the astonishing cloud of C's formation shall operate as usual, Chu Kuangren said. Now that he was carrying the heavenly punishment seal, he would not be able to hold out if another strong enemy came to invade. The astonishing cloud of C's formation was his best protection. Yes. Also, send some people to clean up the battlefield. There should be some decent loot there, Chu Kuangren said calmly. So many sages, sage rulers, and even 2 boundary emperors had died. There should be a lot of treasures dropped by these people. All right. Chu Kuangren handed the matter over to Elder Ruyan and the others to handle. He turned around to return to the towering Heaven Palace. Subconsciously, he wanted to circulate his spiritual power and turn into a stream of light, but just as he took a step forward, he realized that he couldn't use his spiritual power. Tisk, looks like this is going to be troublesome. He shook his head and sighed, then walked into the mountain gate. When the others saw this, their eyes were filled with worry and heartache. What are you all standing there for? The sect leader told you to clean up the battlefield, not to just stand there and stare. Elder Rian suppressed the worry in her heart and announced loudly to the crowd. Under her command, the Black Heaven sect began to operate in an orderly manner. It really is a little messy. Chu Kuangren looked around at the ruined Black Heaven sect. Although he had tried his best to prevent the battle from affecting the Black Heaven sect, the final heavenly tribulation was too terrifying. Many places in the Black Heaven sect were inevitably damaged, and many buildings had collapsed. Master, these will be rebuilt soon. Lan Yu said beside him. Yes, as long as everyone is still here. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. When he arrived at the towering Heaven Palace, it was not too badly damaged. That was enough for Chu Kuangren to find a place to stay. Once he entered the Daoist palace, he began to check the condition of his body. His consciousness sank into his spiritual mound. Inside his spiritual mound, he saw colorful chains crisscrossing each other. Each of them had a large amount of mysterious Daoist rhymes and runes flowing on them. After counting, there were a total of 9 colorful chains. That was the 9 heavenly punishment seal. Not only did it seal his spiritual power, but it also sealed his spiritual power, foundation, physical body, and even his 3 supreme Daoist physiques. Only his immortal body and universal cauldron physique had some use. That was probably the key to breaking the seal. This heavenly punishment seal seems to be some kind of strange energy. The universal cauldron physique can convert it into energy, but with my spiritual power sealed, even with the universal cauldron physique, I don't know how long it will take for me to completely break the seal. I wonder if there's any way to speed up the process? Chu Kuangren thought about the various methods he had. His consciousness sensed the heavenly punishment seal, and suddenly, a thought flashed in his mind. The Daoist rhymes and runes contained in this seal seem to be able to be understood. If I can fully understand it, it'll undoubtedly be of great help to me in breaking the seal. At that thought, Chu Kuangren calmed himself down and began to understand the heavenly punishment seal. His mind was completely immersed in the Daoist rhymes. Time passed. Soon, a day and night had passed. Chu Kuangren opened his eyes. It's too mysterious. The Daoist rhymes contained within this heavenly punishment seal are so mysterious that I'm afraid even a sage ruler would find it hard to comprehend. Even with my level of comprehension, I've only comprehended a small part of it after a day and a night of meditation. How terrifying was Chu Kuangren's enlightenment. With the help of the meditative clarity of clarity, he could quickly comprehend even emperor techniques. One day and one night was enough for him to comprehend 2 emperor techniques. However, it was only a drop in the ocean when it came to comprehending the heavenly punishment seal. One could see how terrifying the heavenly punishment seal was. No wonder even the emperors of old could not break it. However, Chu Kuangren realized that after he understood the heavenly punishment seal's Daoist rhymes, his cauldron physique's refinement speed of the heavenly punishment seal was still very slow, but it was indeed a little faster. That confirmed Chu Kuangren's guess. Understanding the heavenly punishment seal could speed up the refinement of the heavenly punishment seal. However, based on my current efficiency, it'll probably take a few decades or even 100 years to fully understand this heavenly punishment seal. Chu Kuangren muttered. If it were someone else, even an emperor would not be able to understand even a little bit of it even after thousands of years. It's a little slow, but it's better than having no hope at all. Chu Kuangren shook his head and smiled. Forget it. I've spent too much time in the outside world anyway. I might as well use this period of peace and tidy up what I've learned. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. The next day, in the longevity hall of the Black Heaven sect, we've collected a total of 56 broken ferry boats, 16 billion soul stones, 7,600 bottles of medicinal pills, and 481 sage weapons, including 21 sage ruler weapons, great sage weapons, Elder Ruyan was reporting the harvest to Chu Kuangren. The eyes of the elders in the longevity hall lit up. Their harvest this time was just too huge. Everything else aside, just the hundreds of sage weapons alone were unimaginable for the Black Heaven sect in the past. It's not that surprising. Chu Kuangren's expression was calm. Putting aside the 6 great unknown lands, just the 36 islands in the outer seas alone had a bunch of sages and a bunch of sacred weapons. These items, along with the serpent deity's treasury and the opportunities of fortune that the sect leader brought back last time, are enough for the Black Heaven sect to develop for a long time. At least for the next few thousand years, we won't have to worry about resources anymore. Elder Ruyan said with a faint smile. Chapter 430. Within 1,000 years, huh? Chu Kuangren pondered for a moment before he continued. No, use it as fast as you can. There's no need to be stingy with resources. Use them all on your disciples and try to use them all up in 100 or even 10 years. Everyone gasped when they heard Chu Kuangren's words. What? Use up all our resources in 10 years? This is too much. I know that all of you have your doubts, but the main problem for the Black Heaven sect now is not how long these resources will last, but how many strong cultivators can we produce with these resources. I'm sure all of you are aware of my current situation. With the heavenly punishment seal on my body, I'm no different from an ordinary person. I need Nangong Huang and the others to grow quickly, so we can't be stingy with resources. Moreover, the disciples who are willing to stay and fight with the Black Heaven sect are all people that we should focus on training. Now is the best time for them to cultivate, so we must keep up with the resources. Chu Kuangren's words made everyone fall into deep thought. What the Black Heaven sect lacked now was not resources. It was strong cultivators. Strong cultivators that could intimidate the world. It used to be Chu Kuangren. However, now that Chu Kuangren had the seal on his body, his intimidation was greatly reduced. There was no second Chu Kuangren in this world, so the Black Heaven sect urgently needed to train a group of strong cultivators to stabilize the situation in the future and resist external enemies. They could even get a share of the pie in this era of great battles. We understand. Elder Ruyan nodded. She then looked at Chu Kuangren with a worried look in her eyes. The others felt the same. They had heard about the horror of the heavenly punishment seal from the sages. It was extremely difficult for an ordinary cultivator to become an ordinary person who could not use spiritual power in an instant. Not to mention a peerless sky pride like Chu Kuangren. In their opinion, Chu Kuangren must be feeling very uncomfortable, but he did not show it in front of them. He was still handling the internal affairs of the Black Heaven sect in an orderly manner. This kid was so strong that it made them feel sorry for him. Chu Kuangren also noticed everyone's gaze and was a little confused. Hey, why do they all look like they're about to cry? Did I do something? Ahem, then let's leave it at that. I'll leave the resource planning to you guys. Besides, the elders are all honorables and honorables, so if you need any resources, feel free to use them. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. These elders all had a chance of transcending the tribulation, and with the resources he brought back, it was enough for them to successfully transcend the tribulation. When that time came, the Black Heaven sect would have a few more sages. In this ever-changing era, only a sufficient number of sages were qualified to be called a foundation. Those supreme paragons of the past all seemed rather ordinary. Chu Kuangren left the Longevity Hall and returned to the towering Heaven Palace. In the days that followed, the Black Heaven sect operated in an orderly manner while Chu Kuangren stayed in the Daoist palace to gain insights on the heavenly punishment seal. In the outside world, there was a huge upheaval. The impact of the battle at the Black Heaven sect was huge. The fall of 6 sage rulers and even a boundary emperor had dealt an unprecedented blow to the 6 unknown lands. However, none of them dared to seek revenge from Chu Kuangren. Even though the other party was currently sealed by Tian Fei, they did not dare to do so. Because the astonishing cloud of seas formation was still there. This was because no one knew if Chu Kuangren still had any trump cards up his sleeves. As long as this person did not die, no one would dare to touch the Black Heaven sect even if he became an ordinary person in the eyes of the public. However, the Black Heaven sect remained hidden within the astonishing cloud of C's formation. Since then, the Black Heaven sect had become a forbidden area. Without Chu Kuangren, sky prides from all over the firmament star kept popping up like mushrooms after a spring rain. They were all competing for the limelight. Besides that, ever since the appearance of the Heavenly Golden Palace and the other 5 unknown lands, the rest of the unknown lands had also appeared one after another. The firmament star had entered a new era. About half a year later, after the Qian Emperor Palace, the second emperor's opportunity of fortune appeared. Countless sky prides fought for it, but it was Xiao Lintian from the Heavenly Golden Palace who came out on top. It was just as the unknown lands had expected. After the Qian Emperor Palace, the opportunities of fortune appeared one after another. The sky prides took the opportunity to rise and quickly catch up to the older generation. The era of great battles was like adding oil to a raging fire. However, some people felt that something was missing. We're missing a Kuangren. Inside a certain restaurant, a white-robed old man sighed as he drank. There are so many sky prides now, and it's so lively, but we're missing a true peerless genius. The others in the restaurant agreed with him when they heard that. Back then, when Chu Kuangren was still around, he alone outshone everyone else. He was the center of everyone's attention. However, now that all the sky prides were competing against each other, none of them were willing to give in. Although it was like 100 flowers were blooming, no one could truly dominate the crowd. Although it was prosperous, there was no one who could truly impress the people. Back then, some hated Chu Kuangren, some respected him, and some feared him. Regardless of whether they hated him, feared him, or respected him, no one would deny his excellence. That person had amazed an entire era. It was not that the sky prides of today were not bad either, but they were not as memorable as Chu Kuangren. This is the end of an era. Some of the diners lamented. At that moment, outside the restaurant, a beam of light suddenly shot into the sky. An incomparably strong spatial fluctuation appeared. Everyone's attention was drawn to it. What's that? Could it be another emperor's opportunity of fortune? It doesn't look like it. There's no emperor's aura. What could it be? Everyone was confused. Only the white-robed old man who was sitting in the corner had a look of surprise in his eyes when he saw the beam of light. He then curled his lips. Even the people in the sky can't sit still. They've come to visit the human realm. On a mountain peak in firmament star. Suddenly, a beam of light descended from the sky, and an extremely intense spatial fluctuation appeared, startling half of the cultivators in firmament star. All the great ones looked at the beam of light thoughtfully. I am Xiao Jingchen of the 9 heavens. Come and see me now, people of the Heavenly Golden Palace. A white-robed young man walked out of the beam of light, and his voice echoed across half of the world. He demanded to see the people of the Heavenly Golden Palace. Several rays of light flew out. They were the elders of the Heavenly Golden Palace. They looked at the white-robed young man in shock. Xiao Jingchen, you're Xiao Jingchen, the Heavenly Golden Palace's first Heavenly Golden Imperial Physique cultivator from tens of thousands of years ago. Why are you here again? It's a long story. I've returned to Firmament Star from the 9 heavens to fight for the Emperor's opportunity. I hope you can lend me a hand. Xiao Jingchen said calmly. The elders were extremely excited when they heard him. This was the first Heavenly Golden Imperial Physique cultivator in the history of the Heavenly Golden Palace. In terms of potential, he was much stronger than Xiao Lintian, who had acquired the Heavenly Golden Imperial Physique. We'll do our best. Very well. Go back and prepare. Besides me, those from the 9 heavens will be here soon. Xiao Jingchen said calmly. His eyes were burning with passion. I've been asleep for so long just for this era. This time, no one can stop me from becoming an emperor. A few months after Xiao Jingchen, beams of light descended from the sky, and unfamiliar sky prides appeared one after another. The words 9 heavens began to enter the public eye. Chapter 431. The changes in the outside world did not affect Chu Kuangren at all. At this moment, he was still trying to gain insights on the heavenly punishment seal. Congratulations, host, you have obtained a legendary item, Dao Enlightening Tea Tree. On this day, Chu Kuangren had obtained a legendary item from the gacha wheel. He curiously took it out. When a tea tree appeared, an incredibly mysterious Daoist rhyme instantly filled the entire room. This tea tree was 3 feet tall and had luxuriant leaves. The few tender green tea leaves at the top of the tree exuded a mysterious charm. The Dao Enlightening Tea Tree was a top-notch emperor treasure. Consuming its tea leaves could quickly help a cultivator enter the state of Dao enlightenment. It was even helpful to emperors. This tea tree would produce tea leaves once every 100 years. Each time, it would produce 3,333 tea leaves. Among them, there were 3,000 low-tier Dao Enlightening tea leaves, 300 medium-tier Dao Enlightening tea leaves, and 30 high-tier Dao Enlightening tea leaves. However, there were only 3 top-notch supreme-tier Dao Enlightening tea leaves. 3 leaves every 100 years. One could only imagine how rare those tea leaves were. The Dao Enlightening tea tree in front of Chu Kuangren was in its complete state with 3,333 tea leaves. Chu Kuangren reached out and plucked the top green tea leaf. When he swallowed it, an ethereal feeling instantly filled his mind. He already had the meditational clarity attribute. Now that he had consumed this supreme tier Dao Enlightening tea leaf, his level of enlightenment instantly skyrocketed to an unbelievable level. Not daring to waste any time, he quickly continued to gain insights on the heavenly punishment seal. Time passed. With the help of the Dao Enlightening tea leaves, Chu Kuangren's speed in gaining insights on the heavenly punishment seal had greatly increased. He was so immersed that he could not pull himself out. Soon, a month passed unknowingly. Chu Kuangren had already gained insights on the first 2 layers of the 9-layered heavenly punishment seal. His cauldron physique had also increased the speed of converting the heavenly punishment seal. This Dao Enlightening tea leaf is really amazing. I thought it would take me at least 10 years to gain insights on the first 2 layers of the seal. Chu Kuangren slowly opened his eyes. A terrifying domineering aura flashed across his pitch-black pupils. If there were any other cultivators present, they would definitely be shocked by this domineering aura. That was because it was the heavenly punishment domineering aura. Chu Kuangren, who had gained insights on the heavenly punishment seal, actually possessed the heavenly punishment domineering aura. Even Chu Kuangren himself had not realized this. He looked at the tea tree in front of him. Supreme-grade tea leaves have the greatest effect on me, followed by top-grade tea leaves. As for middle-grade and lower-grade tea leaves, they are far less effective than top-grade and supreme-grade tea leaves in comprehending the heavenly punishment seal. Send it to the Fair Frost Sage and have her cultivate it well. I wonder if she knows how to fry tea leaves. When the time comes, it should be a good choice to make a few bottles of tea leaves. Chu Kuangren muttered. He used his spiritual thought to put the tea tree into the interspatial ring. Not bad, he could use his spiritual thoughts again. This was the effect of unlocking 2 of the Heaven's Punishment seals. He had temporarily unlocked the Heaven's Punishment seal on his spiritual thoughts. Of course, he had only recovered his spiritual thoughts. His most fundamental cultivation was still not restored. However, he had the talent of a conjurer and had recovered his spiritual thoughts. This was also a great help to him. At least he was no longer powerless. Chu Kuangren left the Daoist palace and headed towards the Fairfrost Sage's residence. From the side, Lan Yu followed closely behind. Ever since Chu Kuangren was struck by the heavenly punishment seal, Lan Yu could not wait to stick close to him to ensure his safety. Although this was the Black Heaven sect and Chu Kuangren would not be in any danger, Lan Yu was still very worried. As long as Chu Kuangren left the Daoist palace, she would definitely follow him. Black Heaven sect, Fairfrost Valley. The Fairfrost Sage was tending to the medicinal herbs. Half of the valley had been destroyed during the previous battle. Fortunately, she had kept the herbs well before the battle, so there was not much damage. After a few months, the valley had almost recovered. It was now lush and full of life, like a paradise. Chu Kuangren arrived. The Fairfrost Sage had long sensed his arrival, so she came out with her disciples to welcome him. Greetings, sect leader. You're welcome, Elder Fairfrost. Chu Kuangren smiled and took out the Dao Enlightening Tea Tree. An incredibly rich Daoist rhyme instantly spread throughout the entire valley. The Fair Frost Sage was shocked to see the tea tree. Is this the legendary Dao Enlightening Tea Tree? Chu Kuangren was rather surprised. Oh, Elder Fairfrost knows about it? Previously, I coincidentally came across an ancient book that recorded all kinds of rare herbs, and the Dao Enlightening Tea Tree was mentioned in it. However, it was said that this tea tree has long gone extinct. Where did you get it from, sect leader? Heh, I obtained it by chance. Chu Kuangren chuckled. All right then. The Fairfrost Sage had heard about Chu Kuangren's opportunities of fortune after staying in the Black Heaven sect for a long time, so she did not ask any more questions. The two of them conversed for a while. After handing the care of the Dao Enlightening Tea Tree to the Fairfrost Sage, Chu Kuangren took some premium and top-tier tea leaves and was about to leave. However, the Fairfrost Sage stopped him. After a moment of hesitation, she took out a pill bottle and said, "This is the spirit fount pill that Master Gu and I came up with. The spiritual power produced by this pill does not need to enter his spiritual mound and can be used within his meridians. This pill is roughly equivalent to all the spiritual power of an honorable." Chu Kuangren was stunned for a moment before he understood. This spirit fount pill was specially prepared for him. Due to the heavenly punishment seal, he could not use the spiritual power in his spiritual mound. Hence, the Fairfrost Sage and Master Gu found another way to research this spirit fount pill. "Heh, I thank you for your kindness, Elder. However, I have my own ways to deal with this heavenly punishment seal. You and Master Gu don't have to worry about me anymore." Chu Kuangren smiled. "If there's anything you need help with, please let me know, sect leader." "All right." Chu Kuangren nodded and left. The Fairfrost Sage looked at Chu Kuangren's departing figure with a hint of sadness in her eyes. She thought that he was just pretending to be relaxed. After all, how could the heavenly punishment seal be broken so easily? Sigh, the heavens are jealous of such a talented person. The Fairfrost Sage shook her head and sighed. She then looked at the pill bottle in her hand and casually threw it into the pond beside her. "Sect leader, you could even kill a sage easily in the past. Why would you be interested in a pill that can only produce honorable spiritual power? Let's hope that there's a chance." A few days later, the Fairfrost Sage sent someone to deliver a few boxes of roasted tea leaves. Those were tea leaves from the Dao Enlightening Tea Tree. Just one small box was already a rare treasure. Chu Kuangren could not wait to try it out. The effect was very good. It could allow one to quickly enter a state of enlightenment. Although it was not as good as the supreme-grade Dao Enlightening Tea Leaves, it was still a supreme treasure for a sage. He sent some to the Black Heaven's second and third forefathers. Putting aside the second and third forefathers, after Honorable Xianxia drank the tea, he became a sage on the spot despite needing decades of accumulation. On that day, Daoist rhymes reverberated in the Black Heaven sect as golden lotuses sprouted from the ground to celebrate the birth of a sage. Some great ones who were still paying attention to the Black Heaven sect could not help but feel surprised. "I can't believe someone in the Black Heaven sect has become a sage at this time. It must be Honorable Xianxia who went through ascension a few years ago. It's just a sage. There's nothing special about it." The great ones did not care much. Times were different now. An ordinary sage could no longer affect the power structure of the firmament star. Chapter 432. What is this? Honorable Xianxia, who had just ascended to become a sage, looked at the tea in his hand in shock. 1 cup of tea was equivalent to decades of cultivation. F***ck. Not to mention tea, he couldn't even drink spiritual marrow. "This is the Dao Enlightenment tea. I still have some here. Honorable teacher, you may enjoy it with the other forefathers." Chu Kuangren took out a box of tea leaves. Everyone looked at the tea leaves passionately. "Kuangren, why don't you keep such a good treasure for yourself? It will be of greater value to you." Honorable Xianxia said. The other forefathers regained their senses and nodded in agreement. "I still have better ones. Honorable teacher, you're welcome." This Tao Enlightenment tea can help all of you enter the great sage realm faster, so please accept it. Honorable Xianxia accepted the tea after hearing Chu Kuangren's words. Then, everyone asked about the heavenly punishment seal. Just like the others, they were also very worried. To them, Chu Kuangren was no longer just the Black Heaven sect leader. He had contributed too much to the Black Heaven sect. Everyone in the sect respected and loved him. Even the sages were the same. Don't worry, I have my ways to deal with the heavenly punishment seal. Chu Kuangren said. After he was done with the tea, he chatted with the sages for a while before he stood up and left. The sages looked at each other as they watched him leave. I originally thought that the sect leader would be unable to recover from this setback, but the sect leader looks very relaxed and not dejected at all. What a strong Daoist core. Honorable Xianxia was silent for a while before a determined look appeared in his eyes. I believe that Kuangren will recover. Chu Kuangren, who had returned to the Daoist palace, suddenly smelled the aroma of food. He followed the smell and realized that it was Gu Linglong and Lil Bing cooking. Chu Kuangren was stunned when he saw that. Linglong, what are you? I'm cooking. Gu Linglong blinked and said, You're cooking? Yeah. Now that Chu Kuangren had lost his spiritual power, some of his physiological needs were the same as an ordinary person. For example, he would feel hungry if he did not eat for a day. Gu Linglong had decided to cook because of that. She had thought it through very clearly. If Chu Kuangren could never recover, then she was willing to become immortal for him and accompany him for the rest of his life. Chu Kuangren seemed to have guessed her thoughts. Thank you. What are you thanking me for? You and I are husband and wife. Do you really need to thank me? Gu Linglong retorted. Let me try your soup. Chu Kuangren smiled, picked up the spoon beside him, and took a sip of the soup. Then his face turned from red to white, then from white to green. Water, water. Chu Kuangren hurriedly looked for water to drink. He looked at the bowl of soup on the table with a strange expression. Are you sure this stuff is for humans to drink? That kind of taste, salty and spicy, was simply a direct hit to the soul. Well, it's my first time learning how to cook. Maybe I'm not very good at it. Don't worry, I'll learn it well in the future. Gu Linglong said with a firm expression. Unfortunately, she really didn't seem to have any talent for cooking. For the next few days, the things she made were all unflattering. On normal days, Chu Kuangren could still remain calm even when facing thousands of strong enemies. However, when he heard Gu Linglong calling him to eat, his face turned pale. Going to the dining table was like going to the execution ground. After a few days, Chu Kuangren finally couldn't take it anymore. He had to go into closed-door meditation. In order not to enjoy Gu Linglong's dark cuisine for the rest of his life, in order to stop Gu Linglong from touching the kitchen, Chu Kuangren decided to go into closed-door meditation. No matter what, he had to break that damned heavenly punishment seal. Chu Kuangren had the immortal body. Even if he ran out of spiritual power, he wouldn't starve to death. After telling everyone about this and telling them not to worry about him going into closed-door meditation for too long, he went into closed-door meditation. However, no one expected that. His closed-door meditation lasted for 3 whole years. Towering Heaven Palace. It was the first snowfall of the year. Gu Linglong, Lan Yu, and Lil Bing sat in the courtyard, admiring the snow. Heavy snow swirled, and the world was covered in a silvery white color. The Triple Black Heaven sect has been in seclusion for 3 years now. Lil Bing suddenly said with some emotion. Beside her, Gu Linglong and Lan Yu nodded slightly. Indeed, it's been 3 years. 3 years was not a long time, but it was not that long either. To most cultivators, 3 years was just a blink of an eye. However, without Chu Kuangren's Black Heaven sect, everyone felt like something was missing. The past 3 years felt like an eternity. By the way, Lil Bing, how are Jun Yi and the others? They should be back by now, Gu Linglong asked curiously. Jun Yi was a Daoist of the Black Heaven sect. Among the Daoists, she was the closest to Lil Bing and the others, and they kept in contact with each other. 2 years ago, Nangong Huang, Jun Yi, and the others achieved the goal that Chu Kuangren had set for them, which was to become an honorable supreme within a year. After that, the few Daoists left the Black Heaven sect to explore the world. In the past 2 years, they would occasionally return to the Black Heaven sect. Every time they returned, they would visit the towering Heaven Palace. Fortunately, I heard that they've made quite a name for themselves in the outside world. A few days ago, Nangong Huang even defeated an Empyrean walker. Oh, is that so? Lan Yu chuckled. Looks like Empyrean walkers are no match for him anymore. Looks like he's improved quite quickly. Heh, no matter how fast he improves, you still beat him up every time he comes back to challenge me. Gu Linglong chuckled beside her. In the past 3 years, Lan Yu had improved tremendously. She already possessed a supreme Daoist physique, and with the help of the Black Heaven sect's resources, she had long ascended to become a boundary sage. Not only her, but the other Daoists were also the same. The only difference was in terms of combat strength. By the way, how are the sky prides from the 9 heavens doing? Gu Linglong asked. In the past 3 years, a few sky prides from the 9 heavens had emerged. They were so powerful that they even surpassed the Empyrean walkers. What else can they do? They're just jumping around everywhere. Lil Bing said. The sky prides from the 9 heavens came to the firmament star with only one purpose, and that was to search for emperors' opportunities of fortune to increase their chances of becoming an emperor. In the past 3 years, the opportunities of fortune left behind by the emperors of old had appeared one after another, and many of the sky prides had obtained them. Sky prides with emperors' opportunities of fortune in hand had terrifying combat strength. Even the sages of the older generation were no match for them. The firmament star had long since become the world of sky prides, especially those young sky prides who had become sages. Even sage rulers were wary of them. Oh, right, there's something worth mentioning. Murong Xian managed to squeeze into the top 50 of the Soaring Dragon leaderboard some time ago. He's ranked 49th, 2 places higher than Nangong Huang. Has there been any change in the first place of the Soaring Dragon leaderboard? No, it's still blank, Lo Bing said. The Soaring Dragon leaderboard was the biggest change in the past 3 years. This leaderboard was personally derived by the world's #1 divine predictor, Tianjizi. This leaderboard was now hanging above the Divine Predictor Pavilion on the firmament star. However, the interesting thing was that the first place of the Soaring Dragon leaderboard was still blank. It had been like this for the past 3 years. According to Tianjizi, he was waiting for someone. He was waiting for someone who could truly become the world's #1. Chapter 433. Who will be the leader among the geniuses? There's a madman in Xiantian. In the Black Heaven sect, on a mountain peak outside of the astonishing cloud of seas formation, a young man mumbled to himself. A look of disdain flashed across his eyes. What a joke! A person who was crippled 3 years ago is still spreading his legend. Are these people sick in the head? The young man snorted coldly with a dissatisfied look on his face. If anyone who was paying attention to the situation on Firmament Star was here, they would definitely recognize this person as the top sky pride who was ranked 25th on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. He was also the Daoist of Parch Prime Palace, one of the top orthodoxies in Firmament Star. Lu Yiqing. 3 years ago, Parch Prime Palace was also one of the unknown places in this world. However, Lu Yiqing was not an Empyrean walker. It was not because he was not strong enough, but because he was still in closed-door cultivation. It was only 3 years ago, after the battle at the Black Heaven sect, that he came out of closed-door cultivation. At the same time, Parch Prime Palace had also reappeared, just like the other unknown lands. Meanwhile, Lu Yiqing had also officially entered the public's field of vision. He stepped onto the stage where prodigies gathered and was ready to show his prowess. His strength was indeed extraordinary. In the past 3 years, he had defeated many geniuses and was ranked 25th on the Hidden Dragon ranking. It could be said that apart from the top heavens favorites from the 9 heavens, his strength was definitely among the top of the younger generation. However, he didn't feel happy at all. Because of one person. A person who had been crippled 3 years ago and had disappeared without a trace. That was Chu Kuangren. When Lu Yiqing first debuted, he had an impressive battle record and quickly gained quite a bit of fame. However, his fame was overshadowed by the name of Chu Kuangren. No matter who it was, as long as someone mentioned the name Chu Kuangren, no matter who they were talking about or which sky prides they were talking about, they would instantly be drawn to that name and talk about Chu Kuangren's glorious deeds. This name seemed to have some kind of magic that could easily attract everyone's attention. Lu Yiqing was a proud and arrogant person. He had thought that he would be able to make a name for himself once he made his debut. In fact, it was not impossible for him to fight for the throne of this world. However, the limelight was overshadowed by one person's name. More importantly, this person had already been sealed by Tian Fa 3 years ago and had been reduced to an ordinary person. He had even disappeared for 3 years. The strong contrast made Lu Yiqing very unhappy. Just a few days ago, his beloved goddess, Feng Yaorao, also had an infatuated look on her face whenever she talked about Chu Kuangren. He could not stand it anymore. He swore that he would meet Chu Kuangren in person. I'd like to see just what kind of person Chu Kuangren is, to be able to make the entire world miss him so much. Lu Yiqing said as he looked at the astonishing cloud of C's formation. I heard that he was struck by the heavenly punishment seal. He's probably no different from an ordinary person now. There was another young man beside Lu Yiqing. This person was hiding under the shade of the tree without making a sound. When he walked out, the sunlight shone on his body, revealing only his pale face. This person was also a genius of the Hidden Dragon rank. The 24th of the Hidden Dragon rank, Yin Li. He was not an Empyrean walker, nor was he a sky pride from the 9 heavens. Instead, he was one of the sky prides who had risen to prominence through various opportunities in the past 3 years. At the same time, this person was also very dissatisfied with Chu Kuangren. The reason was similar to Lu Yiqing's. Today, the two of them had teamed up to meet Chu Kuangren. He's here, Lu Yiqing said calmly. At the foot of the mountain, 2 figures were slowly walking on the mountain path. Both of them were stunning beauties. One of them was dressed in red while the other was dressed in blue. Jun Yi and Jin Fian are ranked 56th and 57th on the Hidden Dragon rank. They're also 2 of the Black Heaven sect's Daoists. As long as we follow them, we'll be able to enter the Black Heaven sect. Of course, Lu Yiqing and Yin Li would not recklessly barge into the Black Heaven sect. After all, the astonishing cloud of C's formation was not just for show. After all, it was a formation that even a sage ruler would not dare to barge into. With their abilities, barging into the formation was no different from courting death. Hence, they were already prepared. That was to let the people of the Black Heaven sect bring them in. They had found out that Jin Fian and Jun Yi were inseparable when they were out adventuring, but they would return to the Black Heaven sect every 6 months. These few days were the time for them to return. Let's get ready, Lu Yiqing said calmly. Yin Li nodded slightly. With a wave of his sleeve, a black mist shrouded the two of them, concealing them in the void. This concealment technique was extremely brilliant, and it was one of Yin Li's opportunities of fortune. Even a sage ruler might not be able to detect them. Not to mention Jun Yi and Jin Fian. The two of them followed behind the 2 girls and entered the astonishing cloud of C's formation. Once Jun Yi entered the astonishing cloud of C's formation, she took out a jade longsword. The 2 girls followed the longsword's guidance and dashed towards the Black Heaven sect. Along the way, they passed by many formations. These formations were extremely complicated and intertwined, making it difficult to guard against them. If not for the Jade Sword's guidance, even a sage ruler would not be able to escape death if they made a single mistake. This formation was too terrifying. Lu Yiqing and Yin Li followed behind Jun Yi and Jin Fian. They did not dare to stray too far away, afraid that they would lose track of them. Roar! At that moment, a roar came from the sky. A ferocious cloud dragon loomed in the sea of clouds. Lu Yiqing and Yin Li, who were hiding in the void, shuddered in fear as they looked at the cloud dragon with fear in their eyes. What kind of monster is that? What's going on with this formation? Hi. Jin Fian didn't seem to be surprised by Yun Long's presence and even greeted him happily. Beside her, Jun Yi shook her head helplessly. This is just a part of the astonishing cloud of C's formation. It has no sentience, so why are you greeting it? I'm happy to be back. Jin Fian smiled. Lu Yiqing and Yin Li, who were hiding in the void, heaved a sigh of relief. No sentience? It was good that it did not have sentience. If it did, they would not know what to do if it discovered them. Vaguely, they regretted their decision. If they had known earlier, they would not have barged in. It was not without reason that the Black Heaven Sect's formation was known as the 11th Forbidden Area. Soon, Jun Yi and Yin Li returned to the Black Heaven Sect's mountain gate. After greeting Elder Rian and the others, they went to the Towering Heaven Palace as usual when they returned to the sect. Along the way, Lu Yiqing and Yin Li observed the internal situation of the Black Heaven Sect. Although the Black Heaven Sect had spent a lot of resources on the disciples in the past 3 years, and their strength had greatly improved, Lu Yiqing and Yin Li did not care about most of them except for a few Daoists. Jun Yi, when do you think the sect leader will come out of closed-door meditation? Jin Fian asked casually on the way to the Towering Heaven Palace. Upon hearing that, Lu Yiqing and Yin Li perked up their ears. They knew that the sect leader that Jin Fian mentioned was Chu Kuangren. However, what surprised them was the rumor that Chu Kuangren was not sealed by the Heavenly Punishment Seal and lost his cultivation. Why would he go into closed-door meditation? Was he trying to break the Heavenly Punishment Seal? What a joke! Even the emperors of old could not break the seal, so how could a cultivator who was not even a sage when he was sealed be able to break it? The two of them carefully listened to Jin Fian and Yin Li's conversation. I don't know, but this is the longest sect leader has ever gone into closed-door meditation. The Heavenly Punishment Seal must be very difficult to break. Sigh, the heavens are jealous of the talented. As the two of them chatted, they arrived at the Towering Heaven Palace. Lan Yu, Gu Linglong, and Lil Bing had long known that they were coming, so they went up to welcome them. At that moment, within the Daoist palace, a fiery light shot up into the sky. A beautiful godly phoenix soared into the sky and coldly stared behind Jun Yi and Jin Fian. Who dares to sneak around here? Chapter 434. Who are you? How dare you sneak around here? The godly phoenix's cry shocked Lan Yu, Gu Linglong, and the others. They immediately put up their guards and stared coldly at the duo's back. Lu Yiqing and Yin Li were shocked as well. They had been discovered. Both of them walked out from the void. Jin Fian and Lan Yu's expressions darkened when they saw them. They did not expect someone to be following them. No one could enter the astonishing cloud of C's formation. These two people must have followed them in. Who are you? Lan Yu asked coldly. Tiske, a divine beast is indeed a divine beast. I can't believe you could see through my concealment technique. Yin Li looked at the godly phoenix in amazement. Even a sage ruler could not see through them, but the godly phoenix's senses were extraordinary. It could sense something was amiss when they got close. 25th place Lu Yiqing and 24th place Yin Li. Jun Yi revealed their origins. Having traveled the outside world, they were more familiar with the sky prides in the outside world than Lan Yu and the others. The main reason we're here is to meet Chu Kuangren. Lu Yiqing said calmly, revealing the purpose of their trip. You must be tired of living. Lan Yu's expression turned cold. They had sneaked into the Black Heaven sect and now they wanted to see Chu Kuangren. How could it be that easy? She did not say anything else and attacked immediately. With a punch, a dense radiant intent burst forth. Lu Yiqing's pupils shrank when he saw that. The strength of that punch was no weaker than the top 30 sky prides on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. There was such a sky pride in the Black Heaven sect. Silver-haired lady, rumor has it that Chu Kuangren has a winged human follower. It must be her. I didn't expect her to be this powerful. Lu Yiqing did not dare to be careless. He channeled his spiritual power and unleashed a punch. The surging spiritual power formed a giant palm in the void. When the two forces collided, Lan Yu and Lu Yiqing were both pushed back. At the side, Yin Li's figure transformed into a pitch-black shadow and disappeared into the shadows. His goal was clear. He wanted to enter the Daoist palace and find Chu Kuangren. How dare you disturb my brother's closed-door meditation? The others could not discover Yin Li, but the divine phoenix's senses were extremely sharp. A pair of golden eyes swept through the shadows. Soon she discovered Yin Li and launched an attack. He opened his mouth and spat out golden flames. The current godly phoenix could be said to be the strongest existence in the Black Heaven sect. Even a great sage would die upon contact with the flames that she released. Yin Li, who was hiding in the shadows, was a little shocked as he dodged the flames. Perhaps it was because they were in the towering Heaven Palace. Lil Red did not dare to go all out in fear of affecting Chu Kuangren. However, it was precisely because of this that Yin Li had an opportunity to take advantage of. Yin Li dodged the godly phoenix flames while searching for something in the towering Heaven Palace. Soon he locked onto the place where Chu Kuangren had gone into closed-door meditation. This was because compared to other places, that was the only place with restrictions. Hence, that must be the place where Chu Kuangren went into closed-door meditation. He dashed towards the house with a curious look in his eyes. Even if he was extremely dissatisfied with Chu Kuangren, he was still very curious about this famous Chu Kuangren. He was curious about what kind of charm he had that made the entire world unable to forget him. "Let me see who you really are." Yin Li approached the house and raised his hand to channel a surge of spiritual power to break the restriction. However, at that moment, a gust of sword chi gushed out like a hurricane. The sword chi was so strong that Yin Li had no choice but to retreat a few dozen feet as he looked at the house in shock. Didn't they say that Chu Kuangren was sealed by the heavenly punishment seal? Where did this sword chi come from? Did he break the seal? That's impossible. No one can do that. Lan Yu, Lu Yiqing, and even Lan Yu, who were fighting, looked at the sword chi curiously with shock. This sword chi, it's the sect leader. Has the sect leader recovered? Jean Fian's face was filled with excitement. The others were also looking forward to it. Under everyone's gaze, a magnificent white jade sword broke through the window and stood at the door of the room. On the body of the sword chi was soaring, giving off the feeling that it could block an army of 10,000 with a single sword. A boundary emperor weapon. And it's a boundary emperor weapon with a spirit. This must be Chu Kuangren's descendant self-sword that has fused with a sword soul and is still ranked number 1 in the 100-sword spectrum. Yin Li stared at the descendant self-sword with a fiery gaze. After all, it was the best sword in the world. That sword chi was unleashed by the descendant self-sword itself. What a good sword to be able to protect its master. If it grows in the future, it'll be even more outstanding than most emperor weapons. Yin Li said excitedly. He could already see himself killing his way through the world with this sword. Without another word, he dashed out and grabbed the descendant self-sword. However, the sword chi on the descendant self-sword surged and shot out. However, Yin Li seemed to be prepared for it. His figure flickered in the air as he used some kind of strange movement technique to dodge the attack. None of the sword chi that filled the sky could hit him. Soon, Yin Li arrived in front of the descendant self-sword and reached out to grab the hilt. A thick layer of spiritual power flowed between his fingers. A surge of sword chi erupted from the descendant self-sword to block Yin Li's palm. The man and the sword were fighting against each other. The sword chi and spiritual power intertwined and collided, forming a terrifying force field around them. The ground around them cracked and caved in. "Stop it!" Jean Fian and Jun Yi dashed out. The long swords in their hands intertwined and formed a sword formation. The water-fire duality force turned into a red and blue sword ray that slashed towards Yin Li. Trying to stop me? Dream on. With a flick of Yin Li's sleeve, a black veil suddenly appeared in midair, blocking the sword chi outside. That black veil was a powerful boundary emperor weapon. It was also Yin Li's greatest opportunity of fortune. No matter how extraordinary the descendant self-sword was, its power was extremely limited when no one was controlling it. The sword chi gradually could not withstand Yin Li's palm. The crowd was getting anxious. That was Chu Kuangren's sword. They could not allow that sword to fall into someone else's hands. Break! The godly phoenix opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of golden flames onto the black veil. However, it still could not break it. That was a boundary emperor weapon. Even a sage ruler might not be able to break it. 3 feet, 2 feet, 1 foot, Yin Li's hand was getting closer and closer to the descendant self-sword. It's rude to take other people's things without permission. At that moment, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out from inside the house. Following that, the surrounding spiritual chi surged and intertwined into lines of mysterious runes in the void. The runes then formed into a golden greatsword. In an instant, surging sword-based Daoist rhymes spread in all directions like a tidal wave. Every cultivator in the Black Heaven sect could feel it. Hundreds of thousands of swords on the sword mountain in the distance chanted in unison. In a few thatched cottages, the sages all opened their eyes. The golden runic greatsword slashed down from the sky, carrying with it a majestic and boundless force. It immediately cut the black veil open. Unable to withstand the terrifying force, Yin Li was instantly sent flying out of the Daoist palace. He landed on the ground, drenched in blood. The sudden change attracted everyone's attention. Everyone looked towards that room. Lan Yu, Gu Linglong, and the others were even more excited. Chapter 435. A creak was heard. The door to the room opened. A familiar figure slowly walked out. White robes, black hair, peerlessly handsome and otherworldly. An inexplicable aura instantly filled the air. At that moment, the wind stopped blowing, the clouds stopped moving, and everything fell silent. It was as if a single person had caused the entire world to sink. Master, sect leader. Lan Yu, Jun Yi, and the others could not hide their excitement. The weather was clear on this day. Chu Kuangren had come out of his closed-door meditation. So, he's Chu Kuangren? Lu Yiqing's eyes narrowed as he looked at Chu Kuangren, who had just come out of his closed-door meditation. The person in front of him did have an otherworldly aura, but he could not sense any spiritual power fluctuations from his body. It was as if he was just an ordinary person without any cultivation base. However, if he was really an ordinary person, how could he explain the runic greatsword just now? What was up with this person? Did he break the heavenly punishment seal? However, Chu Kuangren did not seem to care about the situation in the Daoist palace. He walked straight to the descendant self-sword, lifted it up, and stroked its blade with 2 fingers. The sword vibrated gently, and a clear sword hum could be heard. Thank you for guarding me for the past few years. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He tied the descendant self-sword back to his waist and slowly walked out of the Daoist palace. Lan Yu and the others immediately greeted him. Everyone, it's been a while. Chu Kuangren greeted them and then looked at Lu Yiqing and Yin Li. He said, "Tell me, what are you here for?" "To challenge you." Lu Yiqing took a deep breath and said coldly. Chu Kuangren was stunned for a moment before he shook his head and chuckled. "Challenge me? I haven't heard such words in a long time." He seemed to be a little emotional. It had been a long time since he was challenged by someone. Whoosh! At that moment, Lu Yiqing took advantage of Chu Kuangren's emotional state and dashed out with a terrifying force from his palm. Chu Kuangren sensed it and turned to look at him. However, that one look caused Lu Yiqing's expression to change in an instant. A boundless and terrifying aura instantly enveloped his body. That aura was not something a cultivator could emit. This was the pressure of the heavenly Tao. At that moment, the handsome Chu Kuangren before him seemed to have transformed into the supreme heavenly Tao in his eyes, suppressing all living beings. How could this be? How could a person emit the pressure of the heavenly Tao? Before Lu Yiqing's palm chi could even get close to Chu Kuangren, he was so frightened by the domineering aura in his opponent's eyes that it dispersed on the spot. His legs turned to jelly and he fell to his knees. He had already suffered a crushing defeat before he even made a move. How could he fight against the heavens? "Oh, you're already kneeling?" Chu Kuangren chuckled. "Chu Kuangren, have you really broken the heavenly punishment seal?" Lu Yiqing asked with a pale face. "No, but if I want to defeat you, it doesn't matter." Chu Kuangren said nonchalantly. He then lifted his arm and an invisible ripple appeared. Lines of runes instantly formed in the void, which then turned into a ring of light that enveloped Lu Yiqing and his companion. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't break free. Lan Yu and the others were very surprised by Chu Kuangren's move. From the beginning to the end, they could not sense any spiritual ripple from Chu Kuangren's body. How could he activate the runes then? Take these two away first. Not long after, Elder Ruyan, Fairfrost Sage, and the others received the news that Chu Kuangren had come out of his closed-door meditation, and they all rushed to the towering Heaven Palace. Sect leader, have you broken the heavenly punishment seal yet? Elder Ruyan asked curiously. Not yet. Everyone was disappointed when they heard that. However, they were not too surprised. They did not know how terrifying the heavenly punishment seal was. Even the emperors of old could not do anything about it. Chu Kuangren had only been in closed-door meditation for 3 years, so it was not unacceptable that he could not break it. What's with your expressions? I said I haven't broken it, but it doesn't mean I can't. Chu Kuangren smiled. What do you mean? Is there a difference? Of course, give me some more time, and this heavenly punishment seal will be completely broken. After 3 years of closed-door meditation, with the help of the Tree of Enlightenment and his extraordinary level of understanding, Chu Kuangren had now fully understood the 9-layered heavenly punishment seal. His cauldron physique had also refined 8 layers of the 9-layered heavenly punishment seal. Only the last layer was left before he could completely break the seal. However, Lu Yiqing and the others came to disturb him, so he had no choice but to come out early. After hearing Chu Kuangren's explanation, Elder Ruyan and the others were so angry that their faces turned green. Those 2 bastards deserve to die 1,000 times. Sect leader, I'll go and kill them now. One of the hot-tempered elders said loudly. Come back here. They're just 2 small fries, there's no need to be so calculative. Although I came out early, I didn't lose anything. The heavenly punishment seal can still be broken after some time. Chu Kuangren said. Only then did everyone calm down. After that, Elder Ruyan reported to Chu Kuangren about the development of the Black Heaven sect during this period. With a large amount of resources, the Black Heaven sect's disciples improved rapidly, and a few Daoists had also made a name for themselves in the outside world. Meanwhile, Elder Ruyan, the 7th forefather, and a few other elders had also successfully ascended to the Boundary Sage realm. It's all right. How's the resource consumption? There's still a lot left. Elder Ruyan said. Chu Kuangren had brought back too many resources. Just the serpent deity's treasury alone was enough for the Black Heaven sect to use for a long time. Even though Elder Ruyan and the others had trained the disciples without caring about the cost for the past 3 years, those resources could not be used up so quickly. For the first time in Elder Ruyan's life, she felt the pain of having too many resources but nowhere to spend them. All right, I'll use as much as I can. Chu Kuangren said calmly. If those words were to spread, many people would be shocked. After all, the other orthodoxies were meticulous in their use of resources. Unlike Chu Kuangren, who did not care about the cost and spent as much as he could. Was that something a human should say? Nangong Huang and the others are probably out there. I wonder what's going on out there now, Chu Kuangren murmured as he looked into the distance. He chuckled and said, let's go out for a walk. Elder Ruyan and the others' expressions changed when they heard that. Sect leader, please reconsider. That's right, sect leader. Your heavenly punishment seal hasn't been broken yet. If you go out now, what will you do if those people from before come after you? You mustn't let anything happen to you. The few elders tried to persuade him. Don't worry. Although my heavenly punishment seal hasn't been fully broken, it's not like I don't have a way to protect myself. Chu Kuangren slowly raised his hand, and the surrounding spiritual qi gathered. One after another, mysterious runes appeared in the void, densely packed together. Soon, they occupied half the sky and emanated an endless amount of domineering aura. The scene before them shocked everyone, including the sages, who stared at the countless runes with their mouths agape. Chu Kuangren stood under the sky full of runes. There was not a single trace of spiritual power on his body, but his figure was unusually majestic and tall. He was like an ancient rune emperor who controlled the world. If anyone wants to deal with me, let them. I, Chu Kuangren, am invincible even with the heavenly punishment seal. Chapter 436. No one knew what Chu Kuangren had gained during his 3 years of closed-door meditation other than gaining insight into the heavenly punishment seal. No one knew that even though he did not have any spiritual power, he was still able to easily cast his unparalleled runic techniques. However, Elder Rian and the others knew. The invincible and high-spirited Chu Kuangren had returned. When the Black Heaven sect disciples saw the sky full of runes, their faces were filled with excitement. Some of them could not help but have tears in their eyes. He's back. The sect leader is back. I knew it. How could a stupid seal stop the sect leader? With how powerful he is, he'll definitely become an emperor in the future. That's right. Compared to the Black Heaven sect disciples' excitement, Lu Yiqing and Yin Li, who were locked in a stone prison by the runic halo, looked at the sky outside in disbelief. Even with the heavenly punishment seal on his body, he still has such powerful techniques. Is this the Chu Kuangren who shocked the world 3 years ago? Lu Yiqing murmured. Before he came here, he was very unconvinced. But now, he finally saw the huge gap between him and Chu Kuangren. No wonder Yao Rao admired this person so much. No wonder the world can't forget about him. Lu Yiqing smiled bitterly. Beside him, Yin Li sat in a corner. His already pale face had turned even paler after the injury. However, he remembered something. The Divine Predictor Pavilion's first place on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard has been empty for 3 years. Rumor has it that the Divine Predictor purposely left that spot for Chu Kuangren. Now that I think about it, it's very likely that this is the case. If he can still have such powerful techniques even after being sealed, how will he shock the world once he's unsealed? The first place on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard, who else could it be but him? Yin Li said emotionally. No matter how dissatisfied he was, it all disappeared in the face of such a huge gap in strength. The countless runes in the sky slowly dissipated. Not long after. Tap tap. A series of footsteps came from outside the stone prison. Chu Kuangren came to the front of the stone prison and looked at the two with a playful expression. You two have the guts to barge into the Black Heaven sect with your cultivation level. Tsk, you two sure have guts. If it weren't for you, no one in the Black Heaven sect would be able to stop us. Lu Yiqing said. It was true. Although the two of them had yet to become sages, their combat strength was comparable to a 7-step sage or even a great sage. Coupled with some trump cards, such as Yin Li's Black Veil, no one in the entire Black Heaven sect could stop them. At least no one could kill them. However, they did not expect Chu Kuangren, who was under the heavenly punishment seal, to possess such a mysterious runic technique. He could mobilize the power of thousands of runes without the need for spiritual energy. At this thought, Lu Yiqing could not help but be curious. All rune techniques require spiritual power to activate. How did you do it? Oh, you mean this? Chu Kuangren snapped his fingers and a rune condensed in front of him. It turned into a ball of lightning and struck a boulder beside him, shattering it into pieces. Lu Yiqing and Zhang Xian looked at each other and confirmed that the other party had not used any spiritual power. The runes were formed from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Chu Kuangren had a way to mobilize the spiritual qi of heaven and earth without using his spiritual power. This was one of the rewards that Chu Kuangren had gained from his closed-door meditation. He was able to use his spiritual thoughts to mobilize the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth and condense them into thousands of runes. This was something that only Chu Kuangren, who possessed the talent of conjurer techniques and had gained insights into the Elysium Emperor scripture, could do. The heavenly punishment seal was not entirely a bad thing. At least it allowed him to develop many techniques that were related to telekinesis, so his talent as a conjurer did not go to waste. Moreover, the strength of his spiritual thoughts had continued to improve during the process of gaining insights into the heavenly punishment seal. It had far surpassed the average sage. Even a sage ruler would not be able to compare to him. There were also other rewards. Naturally, Chu Kuangren would not tell Lu Yiqing and Yin Li about these. He only said, "There's no point in killing you two. How about this? Is there anyone who can come and save you? I'll help you inform them and have them prepare a ransom." Whether it was Lu Yiqing or Yin Li, Both of them were insignificant characters to Chu Kuangren. It did not matter whether he killed them or not. It was better to think about how he could use them. Ransom? There are countless treasures in my Parch Prime Palace. As long as you let me go, I'll definitely send them to you. Lu Yiqing's eyes lit up. Being imprisoned, he had no choice but to bow down. I know of an emperor's opportunity of fortune. As long as you let me go, I'll share it with you, Li immediately said. He did not join any forces, so that was the only bargaining chip he could exchange for. As for his boundary emperor weapon, it had long been confiscated by Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren stroked his chin. Let you go? Stop joking. If you run away, who am I going to ask for the ransom? What do you want then? Write a letter, and I'll personally go to Parch Prime Palace to collect the ransom. As for that emperor's opportunity of fortune of yours, tell me what's going on now. Whether I let you go or not depends on the situation, Chu Kuangren said. When the two heard this, their expressions changed indeterminately. With that, Chu Kuangren had the upper hand. All right, I'll write it. Lu Yiqing nodded. He had no other choice but to do as Chu Kuangren said. Li also told Chu Kuangren about the emperor's opportunity of fortune that he knew. As for whether it was true or not, Chu Kuangren would verify it himself. After receiving the letter and obtaining the opportunity of fortune, Chu Kuangren took out a red scarf and threw it out. The scarf instantly turned into a red light barrier that sealed the entire stone prison. That was the 9 profound heavens fire barrier that the Acheron Manor Lord used to seal the Black Heaven sect. After the great battle, it landed on the battlefield and was retrieved by the Black Heaven sect. Since it was a boundary emperor weapon, there was no way the two of them could escape from it. Chu Kuangren only left after he was done with that. Black Heaven sect, outside the astonishing cloud of seas formation. For the past 3 years, many people had been lingering around the Great Formation, hoping to obtain some opportunities of fortune from it. And this was not impossible. The great battle 3 years ago was too brutal. Countless cultivators died, including many sages. The items left behind by these people were scattered all over the battlefield. Even the Black Heaven sect might not be able to find all of them. Later on, someone found a supreme weapon at the outer perimeter of the astonishing cloud of seas formation. When news of that spread, it attracted many cultivators, and it gradually became a gold rush. Many people were willing to risk their lives to enter the astonishing cloud of seas formation in search of opportunities of fortune. Although some people managed to find something, many lost their lives as well. Old Li, did you find anything today? At the outer perimeter of the astonishing cloud of seas formation, a middle-aged cultivator asked someone who had just returned from the formation. Old Li pouted. I've been searching the outer perimeter for half a day and only found a few soul stones. What bad luck. It's been 3 years, and most of the good stuff has been picked up by others. I plan to leave after some time. The middle-aged cultivator said with a smile. Sigh me too. What's wrong with you? Old Li sighed helplessly. Then, he realized that the middle-aged man in front of him seemed to have seen something unbelievable. His eyes were wide open as he stared behind him. He turned around curiously and saw 2 women and a man slowly walking out from behind him. Chapter 437. Astonishing Cloud of Seas Formation. In the periphery, dozens of cultivators were dumbfounded as they looked at the 2 women and 1 man walking towards them. Their eyes were filled with indescribable shock. Even after the 2 women and 1 man left, everyone was still in a daze. That person just now was... Old Li was so stuttering that he couldn't speak. It's definitely him. The middle-aged cultivator spoke in a powerful voice. He looked in the direction that the man had left with an indescribable excitement on his face. It really is him. But wasn't it rumored that this person had already been sealed by Tian Fa? Why would he still dare to walk out of the astonishing cloud of seas formation? Apart from being shocked, Old Li was also puzzled. Why not? He's Chu Kuangren we're talking about. There's nothing he wouldn't dare to do. That middle-aged cultivator said excitedly. Li looked at the middle-aged cultivator in surprise. He did not expect her to be a fan of Chu Kuangren. Firmament Star, Divine Predictor Pavilion. This was a residence built 3 years ago by the Four Seas Trading Company's #1 Divine Predictor, 3 years ago, Tianjizi divined the heavenly mysteries and created the world-shaking Hidden Dragon ranking in one fell swoop, spreading the name of the Pavilion of Heavenly Mysteries to the world. A golden list hung in front of the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion. That was the world-famous Hidden Dragon list. The passers-by on the streets could see this list when they raised their heads. This list was created by Tianjizi's connection with the power of heaven's secrets, so it could be changed at any time. All the geniuses in the world took pride in being ranked on the Hidden Dragon roll. If they were able to obtain a high ranking, then their name could easily shake the world. In a restaurant not far from the Heavenly Mysteries Pavilion, some people were gathered together, drinking while discussing the world's major events. Among them, the topic most discussed was the Heavens Prides. 2 days ago, I heard that the 4th ranker on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard, Wang Tianting, fought with Xiao Lintian from the Heavenly Golden Palace. I heard that Wang Tianting defeated Xiao Lintian in less than 10 moves. This incident has shaken the world. Xiao Lintian has the Heavenly Golden Imperial physique and is ranked 11th on the Hidden Dragon list. I didn't expect him to be so weak in the hands of Wang Tianting. It seems that there is still a huge gap between the top 10 geniuses and the rest of the geniuses on the Hidden Dragon list. Yeah, the Heavenly Golden Palace has been humiliated this time. I heard that Xiao Jingxin has announced that there will be a fight if he meets Wang Tianting. If the two of them were to fight, it would be hard to tell who would be the stronger one. I'm sure it will be very exciting. Sigh, the world now belongs to these geniuses. Even the sages of the older generation have to avoid them. Everyone was conversing. Some people looked at the Hidden Dragon roll outside the street and looked at the names of the geniuses on it with envy. Suddenly, that person's expression changed slightly, and he rubbed his eyes before exclaiming, "Look, there's a change on the Hidden Dragon rankings." At first, no one paid much attention to it. After all, in this era, geniuses rose together. Today, it was either someone who defeated someone or someone who was defeated or even killed by someone else. The Hidden Dragon list was not static, it could change at any time. Even the top 10 geniuses had changed several times. Let me see whose ranking has changed. A cultivator said. He looked up from the last name, but the name was the same as before without any changes. There's no change. Call me. Before he finished speaking, that person's gaze fell on the top spot of the Hidden Dragon leaderboard. In the past, he would not have looked at that spot. Because for the past 3 years, that spot had been empty. But now, that spot was filled with rays of golden light. The rays of golden light intertwined and Daoist rhymes circulated. It was as if a person's name was about to appear on the paper. Everyone could not help but exclaim at this discovery. They stared at the top spot of the Hidden Dragon leaderboard, not daring to blink. Oh my God, the Hidden Dragon leaderboard that hasn't changed in the past 3 years has changed. Who's the first? Didn't the divine predictors say that he's waiting for someone? Why is there a change all of a sudden? Could it be that the person he's waiting for has appeared? Who's the one who can surpass all the other geniuses and become the first? Everyone stared at the Hidden Dragon leaderboard. The change in the Hidden Dragon leaderboard naturally attracted the attention of many great ones in the firmament star, and they all looked at it curiously. Under the watchful eyes of countless people, the first name of the Hidden Dragon leaderboard finally took shape, forming into 3 huge golden words. It was a name that everyone in the world was familiar with but had not heard for a long time. Chu Kuangren. When the 3 words Chu Kuangren were formed, everyone in the world was speechless. No one knew what to say. The name Chu Kuangren was too familiar to everyone in the world. However, because they were too familiar with him, they had thought that anyone could reach the top of the Hidden Dragon leaderboard, but not this person. After all, this person had the Heavenly Punishment seal on him. With the Heavenly Punishment seal and his cultivation base sealed, how could a person like him reach the top of the Hidden Dragon leaderboard? How can it be him? How can it be him? This is impossible. Did the divine predictor make a mistake? This is too reckless. No matter how much the divine predictor admires Chu Kuangren, he can't possibly place him at the top of the hidden dragon leaderboard. On the street, everyone was talking about it. Divine predictor, what's going on? A voice suddenly came from the sky. It was one of the great ones in the firmament star asking. I need an explanation as well. Another mighty figure asked a question. Divine predictor, Chu Kuangren has the heavenly punishment seal on him. How can he be placed at the top of the hidden dragon leaderboard? Don't you think you should say something? That's right. Anyone can be the top, but not him. Divine predictor, you're committing a grave sin. One by one, the great ones who were rarely seen questioned the divine predictor. All of this was because of a name. A name that the world could not forget but could not tolerate. The crowd heard the great one's words. For some reason, they could sense a strange emotion in the great one's tone. It seemed like panic. Were these great ones panicking? Everyone was in disbelief at this discovery. It's just a name. Is it worth it? Someone muttered. Someone beside him replied, it's because that person is Chu Kuangren. He represents an era. Inside the divine predictor pavilion, faced with the great one's questioning, the divine predictor said, this is what I learned from my divination. If you're not satisfied, go ask the heavens. All the mighty figures were rendered speechless. Ask the heavens? They did not know how to communicate with the heavenly Tao. Just as the great ones were questioning the divine predictor, another piece of news came. Chu Kuangren had left the Black Heaven sect. The great ones were even more perturbed now. He's out. How dare he come out? There are countless people who want him dead. He's carrying the heavenly punishment seal. Instead of staying in the formation, he dared to come out. He's digging his own grave. The hidden dragon leaderboard is just an empty title. That's right. The group of powerful beings said before disappearing. As for what they would do next, no one knew. But one thing was for sure, they would not sit idly by and do nothing about Chu Kuangren. It was laughable. Chu Kuangren was supposed to be a cripple to everyone. However, when he reappeared after disappearing for 3 years, he was still the center of everyone's attention. Just his name alone was enough to make countless people restless and cause chaos in the world. On this day, Chu Kuangren walked out of the astonishing cloud of seas formation and reached the top of the hidden dragon leaderboard. Chapter 438. News of Chu Kuangren's return to the realm spread like wildfire across the world. Countless forces and organizations had received the news. Even though they knew that Chu Kuangren had been struck by the heavenly punishment seal and his cultivation base had been sealed, his return to the realm still attracted many people's attention. No one dared to ignore him. Heavenly Golden Palace. A terrifying aura emanated from the palace on top of a mountain. A young man slowly walked out. He was dressed in a golden robe and had a powerful aura around him. It was Lin. He was also the second sky pride in the heavenly golden palace. Chu Kuangren, you're finally out. If that's the case, then don't blame me. I'll pay you back for the humiliation you gave me back then. With that, his figure turned into a stream of light and disappeared. Except for Lin. The rest of the Sky Prides had more or less made their moves, especially those who had lived under Chu Kuangren's shadow 3 years ago. Everyone in the world was looking for Chu Kuangren. But where was Chu Kuangren now? He had come to the Royal Azure Dynasty. To be more precise, he had followed Gu Linglong to the Royal Azure Dynasty. This time, he was here to visit his family. After all, Gu Linglong had been in the Black Heaven sect for 3 years and had not seen her father for 3 years. However, what Gu Linglong had seen and heard along the way had infuriated her. Her expression was as cold as ice along the way. At this time, the people of the Royal Azure Dynasty were homeless and starving. Bandits were everywhere, and voices of rebellion against the royal family could be heard everywhere. There was no sign of the prosperity that she had seen before she left. In a certain city of the Royal Azure Dynasty, a group of bandits was robbing a batch of goods that the soldiers were escorting. The soldiers were powerless against them, so they either fled or died. "Boss, it's the green jasper." One of the bandits opened a box. The box was filled with green jade stones with strange patterns that had an inexplicable Daoist rhymes flowing on them. One box of green jasper was worth 1,000,000 top-tier soul stones. This time, the bandits had seized a total of 30 chests. 30 million top-tier soul stones was not a small amount. Some orthodoxies might not even be able to gather such a sum even if they emptied their pockets. Damn it, these bastards. The boss of the bandits was a middle-aged man with a scar on his face. Not only was he not happy at all when he saw these green pattern jaspers, he even cursed. So many green pattern jaspers. Just how many orthodoxies did they plunder to get their hands on them? And how many smaller orthodoxies were destroyed because of these jaspers? This royal family is getting more and more shameless. The scarred man cursed. He ordered his men to pack up these things and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, a few figures appeared in front of them. They were a man and 2 women, and all of them were stunning beauties. Among them, a beautiful woman in a fiery red robe looked at them with a cold look in her eyes. According to the laws of the dynasty, plundering the property of the royal family is punishable by death. Do you know your crimes? The gorgeous woman said coldly. Hearing her words, the expressions of the bandits changed slightly. They quickly took out their weapons and prepared themselves. The scarred man said, So you're the dogs of the royal family. The royal family has committed many evil deeds, causing the common people to suffer. All the orthodoxies are complaining about it. What we're robbing is exactly what you're talking about. The woman replied indifferently, the royal family of the royal Azure dynasty and the orthodoxies in the country have always minded their own business. As long as the orthodoxies don't break the law, the royal family won't do anything to them. What do you mean by complaints? Stop pretending. If you want to fight, then cut the crap. The scarred man snorted. At this moment, a man beside the scarred man looked at the gorgeous woman and said, Boss, this woman looks familiar. I think she's Her Majesty Linglong. The scarred man's expression changed. Her Majesty Linglong? Didn't she go to the Black Heaven sect? Why is she here? Are you sure you're not mistaken? It's definitely her. A few years ago, when I was in the capital city, I saw Her Majesty from afar. She looks exactly like her. The scarred man's expression changed as he looked at Gu Linglong. In the royal Azure dynasty, Empress Linglong could be said to be the most legendary ruler. She was one of the few rulers who ascended to the throne as a woman. She ascended to the throne while the crown prince was still alive. Moreover, she was very skillful. Under her management, the royal Azure dynasty was in good order. It could be said that the river was peaceful and the sea was peaceful. However, 3 years ago, this legendary empress abdicated her throne less than a year after her ascension to the throne. She headed to the Black Heaven sect to accompany her husband, who was renowned throughout the world and could be said to be the most powerful person in history. I am the former leader of the Frenzied Saber sect. By long greetings, Your Majesty. The scarred man walked up to Gu Linglong and suddenly knelt down. Gu Linglong was taken aback by the sudden turn of events. What's the meaning of this? Your Majesty, please come back and take charge of the situation. Bai Long said with a solemn expression. Tell me what happened. Your Majesty, after you left and participated in the battle with the Black Heaven sect, the head of the Yun family became the new ruler of the royal Azure dynasty. After that, in order to befriend the craggy ocean tower, he kept extorting the wealth of the people to pay tribute to the craggy ocean tower. The entire royal Azure dynasty is now in a precarious situation. Bai Long narrated the matter in detail. After listening, Gu Linglong's expression darkened. Regarding this matter, I will personally investigate it when I return to the palace. If it's true, I will not ignore it. After understanding the current situation of the royal Azure dynasty, Gu Linglong could not just sit back and watch. The few of them hurried to the capital city of the royal Azure dynasty. In the royal Azure palace, a white-haired old man was fiddling with a piece of jade. In front of him were boxes of treasures. Each box was worth a fortune, and each box was looted from countless people. Next to the old man was a middle-aged man dressed in an imperial robe. This man was the current ruler of the royal Azure dynasty, Yun Changfeng. The Yun family used to be the #1 family in the royal Azure dynasty. After the battle with the Black Heaven sect, Yun Changfeng took the opportunity to join the Craggy Ocean Tower. He used the Craggy Ocean Tower's power to take over the royal Azure dynasty and ascend to the throne. Elder, what do you think of the tribute this time? Not bad, not bad. The white-haired old man nodded. Elder, about the matter that I mentioned last time? Yun Changfeng smiled flatteringly without the slightest hint of an emperor's nobility. You've done well recently. The white-haired old man took out a bottle of medicinal pills and tossed it to Yun Changfeng. Thank you, Elder. Thank you, Elder. This medicinal pill can strengthen your bestial soul. It won't take long before no one below the sage realm is your match. The white-haired old man said. Yun Changfeng was overjoyed. In the past few years, he had joined the Craggy Ocean Tower. After spending countless efforts and countless tributes, he finally obtained the Craggy Ocean bestial soul that he had always dreamed of. This medicinal pill was the secret medicine of the Craggy Ocean Tower. It could be used to strengthen his bestial soul and improve his strength. Your Highness, bad news. At that moment, an imperial guard suddenly rushed in with a panicked look on his face. Upon seeing his reaction, Yun Changfeng said in dissatisfaction, What's the matter? Can't you see that the elder is here too? This is unbecoming. Your Highness, Her Highness has returned. Your Highness? Isn't Your Highness right here? What nonsense are you spouting? Yun Changfeng's expression darkened. No, Your Highness, it's Her Highness Linglong who has returned. And beside her is Chu Kuangren. Chapter 439. She's following Chu Kuangren. The Imperial Guard stuttered. When he mentioned Chu Kuangren's name, his eyes were filled with fear. The elder who had been playing with the jade stone at the side and did not take Gu Linglong seriously was shocked. The jade stone in his hand unconsciously fell to the ground and with a crack, it broke into a few pieces. Chu Kuangren is here? Why is he here? The white-haired elder and Yun Changfeng panicked. The Imperial Guard beside them could not help but mutter to himself, Since you've taken over his wife's home, how could he not come to seek justice? Oh right. Quick, bring Gu Qing and the others out. Yun Changfeng hurriedly said as if he had thought of something. Gu Qing was Gu Linglong's father. After taking over the royal Azure dynasty, Yun Changfeng did not kill Gu Qing and the others. Instead, he forced them to consume some kind of secret medicine to lose their combat strength and imprison them. He initially thought that they would come in handy one day. However, he did not expect that day to come so soon. Don't worry, Elder. Chu Kuangren has the heavenly punishment seal on him, so he's not a threat. We only need to deal with Gu Linglong. Yun Changfeng looked at the elder beside him and said. The elder gradually calmed down and forced a smile on his face. That's right. Chu Kuangren is no longer a threat. Although he said that, he was still a little anxious. After all, that was Chu Kuangren. Inside the palace, tens of thousands of imperial guards were surrounding 3 people. These 3 people were Chu Kuangren and his 2 companions. The one walking at the front was Chu Kuangren. He was dressed in a snow-white robe with a beautiful long sword hanging on his waist. His posture was calm as he walked towards the palace hall. The tens of thousands of imperial guards retreated again and again, not daring to step forward. Even though they knew that this person in front of them did not have any spiritual power fluctuations and could not use any spiritual power, they still did not dare to step forward. The tens of thousands of imperial guards were forced to retreat by an ordinary person who did not have any spiritual power fluctuations. It was an unbelievable scene. Chu Kuangren, this is the palace hall. You shall not be so presumptuous here. One of the imperial guards shouted. Unlike the others, he was promoted by Yun Changfeng and was loyal to the royal family. Chu Kuangren turned a deaf ear to him and did not even look at him. After being ignored, that person seemed to become angry out of humiliation. He pulled out the long saber at his waist and his spirit force surged as he fiercely swung it. However, before the long sword could land on Chu Kuangren, a white ray of light shot out and landed on the general's body. In an instant, the general was blasted nearly 100 feet away like a cannonball and smashed into the palace wall. Chu Kuangren, Gu Linglong, both of you stop. At this moment, a cold shout was heard. Yun Changfeng and the elder from the craggy ocean tower walked out. The moment they saw Chu Kuangren, a trace of fear flashed across their eyes. However, when they saw that there was no trace of spiritual power fluctuations on him, they could not help but let out a sigh of relief, and a smile blossomed on their faces. Chu Kuangren, I can't believe you actually dared to walk out of the Black Heaven sect's boundary. As for Gu Linglong, if you didn't return, I wouldn't have done anything to you. But I can't believe you're so stupid as to return. Yun Changfeng said with a smile, as if victory was already in his grasp. As he raised his hand, a ferocious bestial soul beast appeared above his head. If that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. Without another word, the bestial soul beast charged towards Gu Linglong. Beside her, Chu Kuangren glanced at her and said, "Oh, I didn't expect her to be from the craggy ocean tower." Facing the incoming bestial soul beast, a long saber appeared in Gu Linglong's hand. The blade of the saber was engraved with the image of a bright moon. With a slash of the saber, a crescent-shaped saber ray flashed past. The bestial soul beast howled in pain as it was sliced in half on the spot. The strength of that attack had reached the peak of a boundary sage. During the 3 years that Gu Linglong had been in the Black Heaven sect, she did not just focus on cooking. Her strength had also improved tremendously. In fact, she was not much weaker than the Sky Prides on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. What? Yun Changfeng's expression changed drastically. He did not expect the craggy ocean bestial soul that he had painstakingly obtained to be destroyed by Gu Linglong with a single slash. The gap between them was just too huge. How dare a traitor like you spout such nonsense? Gu Linglong said coldly. Elder, please help me. Yun Changfeng knew that he was no match for Gu Linglong, so he quickly sought help from the craggy ocean tower's elder beside him. The white-haired elder glanced at Gu Linglong. She's just a little girl who's not even a sage. If I want to deal with her, it'll be a piece of cake. Don't you worry. As he spoke, he slowly raised his hand, and a surge of domineering Daoist rhyme emanated. In an instant, a giant golden eagle appeared in the void. That was his craggy ocean bestial soul, which already possessed the strength of a sage. If you dare make a move, not only you, but the entire craggy ocean tower will suffer. At that moment, Chu Kuangren finally spoke. His words caused the elder's expression to change drastically. Then, as if he had just heard the funniest joke in the world, he could not help but laugh out loud. Chu Kuangren, what nonsense are you talking about? Do you still think that you're the invincible lunatic from 3 years ago? With the heavenly punishment seal in your body, you can't even muster the slightest bit of spiritual power now. How much stronger can you be compared to an ordinary person? Bring disaster to the craggy ocean tower? Stop joking around. Do you think those forces that surrounded the Black Heaven sect back then will let you go so easily? In a few days, you'll be in deep trouble. As soon as the white-haired elder finished speaking, he maneuvered the giant golden eagle to fly towards Chu Kuangren with a surging aura. He planned to kill Chu Kuangren first. Fortune and misfortune come to us all. Chu Kuangren shook his head and said. Then he raised his hand and used his spiritual thoughts to gather the surrounding spiritual qi into lines of runes. The runes then converged into a golden greatsword that emanated an endless amount of power. When the runic greatsword was unleashed, its terrifying aura instantly tore the giant golden eagle into two. Meanwhile, the white-haired elder was swept away by the sword qi and was sent flying into the great hall behind him. How is this possible? Could he have broken the heavenly punishment seal? The white-haired elder was terrified. If Chu Kuangren had broken the seal, then even 10 of him would not be enough to defeat him. At that thought, the white-haired elder no longer had the intention to fight Chu Kuangren. He broke through the dome of the great hall and flew into the distance. He wanted to escape. Chu Kuangren chuckled and then slowly stretched out his hand. With his 5 fingers spread out, it was as if the entire world was in his palm. An invisible mind power spread out and seemed to have transformed into an invisible giant hand that grabbed the white-haired elder in midair. Escape? Do you think you can escape from my grasp? Chu Kuangren said as he clenched his 5 fingers into a fist. The white-haired elder did not even have the time to wail before he exploded into a cloud of blood mist in midair. This scene made everyone's scalp go numb. From the beginning to the end, they did not feel the slightest bit of spiritual power from Chu Kuangren. They had no idea what kind of method he used to kill the white-haired elder. And this unknown made everyone shudder with fear. Chapter 440. The white-haired elder was crushed by Chu Kuangren's telekinesis. Blood mist exploded like a blossoming flower. Everyone at the scene felt their scalps tingle in disbelief, especially Yun Changfeng, who was so scared that his face turned pale. Impossible! This is impossible! Weren't you sealed? How can you have such power? At that moment, a few soldiers escorted a few people into the hall. Those people were dressed in prison uniforms, and their auras were extremely weak. Gu Linglong's expression changed drastically when she saw them. Father! Those people were Linglong's father and a few of her brothers. Yun Changfeng immediately rushed towards Gu Qing and the others as if he had just seen a life-saving straw and placed it on their necks. Gu Linglong, Chu Kuangren, both of you better surrender now. Otherwise, I'll kill them both. Chu Kuangren's eyes turned cold when he heard that. I've never seen anyone as stupid as you. He then slowly walked towards the palace hall. Every step he took was like stepping on the hearts of Yun Changfeng and the others, causing their hearts to beat violently. A huge wave of fear engulfed them. Chu Kuangren, don't come any closer. Stay back. Otherwise, I'll really kill them. Yun Changfeng roared hysterically. Even so, Chu Kuangren did not stop in his tracks. Go ahead and kill them. If you dare to kill them, then go ahead. But I can guarantee you that if you kill them, your entire Yun family will be subjected to the cruelest punishment in this world. I guarantee that you will all suffer a fate worse than death. As Chu Kuangren spoke, his tone was like a cold wind from the 9 netherworlds. It was bone-chilling and everyone at the scene could not help but shudder. Yun Changfeng's arm trembled uncontrollably as he gripped his saber. He did not dare to do it. He was afraid that if he killed Gu Qing and the others, there would be no turning back. He was afraid that it would be as Chu Kuangren had said, that the entire Yun family would fall into endless torture because of his actions. He knew that Chu Kuangren definitely had the ability to do it. Why don't you kill them? Chu Kuangren had already walked in front of Yun Changfeng and the others. With a cold roar, an indescribable domineering aura emanated from his body. Yun Changfeng's body trembled as if he had encountered the power of the heavens, and he immediately knelt on the ground. I beg of you, please spare the Yun family. Yun Changfeng, who was threatening Chu Kuangren just a moment ago, was now kowtowing and begging for mercy. Your fates will be decided by others. This was an internal affair of the royal Azure dynasty. Chu Kuangren planned to let Gu Linglong handle it herself. Those who surrender will not be killed. Gu Linglong turned around and shouted at the tens of thousands of imperial guards. Everyone put down their weapons and knelt down in a black mass. Even Yun Changfeng had knelt. What else could they do to resist? Father, are you all right? Gu Linglong looked at Gu Qing and the others. I am fine. However, Yun Changfeng gave us a secret medicine that makes it impossible for us to utilize our cultivation bases, Gu Qing said. Where is the antidote? Gu Linglong looked at Yun Changfeng and said coldly. Yun Changfeng didn't dare resist. He obediently handed over the antidote, hoping that Gu Linglong would be merciful enough to spare the Yun family. Men, take him away. Gu Linglong said coldly. After curing Gu Qing and the others, the royal Azure dynasty was once again under the control of the Gu family. Quelling the chaos had been accomplished without the loss of a single soldier. What came next was much easier. Gu Linglong regained control of the royal Azure dynasty under the escort of her ministers. She then began to reorganize the internal affairs of the royal Azure dynasty and repair the broken empire. This was bound to be a long process. 3 years. 3 years was neither a long nor short time, but it was enough for Yun Changfeng to wreak havoc in the entire dynasty. It would not be something that could be done in a short period of time. Gu Linglong still had a lot of things to do. In the palace garden, Gu Linglong was dressed in an imperial robe. She looked at Chu Kuangren apologetically. "Husband, I wish to stay here." "Yes, I understand. The royal Azure dynasty is in turmoil now. With your abilities, staying here is the best choice." Chu Kuangren smiled. He wasn't surprised by Gu Linglong's decision. He knew that Gu Linglong wasn't the kind of person who only cared about relationships. Her heart was still filled with the righteousness of the country. Now that the royal Azure dynasty was rife with bandits, the country was in turmoil, and the people had lost their homes. The dynasty needed a strong leader to rectify the situation, and Gu Linglong was the perfect candidate. For the next few days, Chu Kuangren stayed in the capital city. Naturally, the fact that he was in the royal Azure dynasty could not be hidden from the eyes of the people who were looking for him. People from all over the world rushed to the royal Azure dynasty. In a restaurant in the capital city, Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were sitting by the window. At that moment, someone walked into the restaurant. It was a handsome young man. The moment he walked into the restaurant, he locked onto Chu Kuangren's position and walked up to him. "Everyone in this world is looking for you, Brother Chu, yet you still have the leisure to sit here and drink. I'm impressed." Chu Kuangren glanced at him. "For you." The handsome young man wasn't annoyed. Instead, he smiled and said, "I'm Craggy Ocean Tower's Yuan Xian. I've long been fascinated by you, Brother Chu." "Who gave you the guts to call me Brother Chu? Even your sect leader had to treat me as an equal, let alone you." Yuan Xian's expression froze when he heard that. He suppressed the anger in his heart and said lightly, "Sect leader Chu, I won't waste any more time. I've come to find you today for one thing. That is, please return the Mountain River Scroll to me." The Mountain River Scroll? Chu Kuangren had some recollection of it. It was a Boundary Emperor weapon used by the Craggy Ocean Tower Lord during the Black Heaven Sect War 3 years ago. It contained a large number of bestial souls of mutated beasts, and it was one of the most important resources of the Craggy Ocean Tower. Back then, the Craggy Ocean Tower Lord joined forces with the others to attack the Black Heaven Sect. "I haven't even settled the score with you guys, yet you guys have come knocking on my door. How dare you ask me for the Mountain River Scroll? Your skin is thicker than the Craggy Ocean Tower." Chu Kuangren couldn't help but chuckle. "Sect leader Chu, I hope you can see the situation clearly. You're no longer who you used to be. Do you still want to resist?" Yuan Xian said calmly. Inside the restaurant, most of the people had already left. Aside from Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu, and Yuan Xian, only 2 elders were left. Their auras were locked onto Chu Kuangren. It was obvious that they were not friendly toward Chu Kuangren either. Both of them were from the Craggy Ocean Tower. "If you guys dare to attack me, go ahead and try," Chu Kuangren said calmly. There was not a single trace of spiritual power fluctuation on his body, but neither Yuan Xian nor the 2 Craggy Ocean Tower sages dared to act recklessly. On the contrary, they had a serious look on their faces. "Ha! No wonder you're the legendary Chu Kuangren. Even with the heavenly punishment seal on your body, you're still so arrogant." A burst of laughter was heard as a black-robed cultivator walked in. That cultivator had a sinister demonic qi circulating around his body. Chu Kuangren recognized him at first glance. "Oh, the people from Acheron Manor are here too. It's Zheng Miao from Acheron Manor." The black-robed cultivator, Zheng Miao, sneered and looked at Chu Kuangren playfully. Chapter 441. Acheron Manor's Zheng Miao and Craggy Ocean Tower's Yuan Xian were both sky prides on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard and enjoyed great fame. Now that they had teamed up to look for Chu Kuangren, it was naturally not just for a chat. On Firmament Star, many great ones were looking for Chu Kuangren. They also knew that Chu Kuangren was in the Royal Azure Dynasty. Therefore, when Yuan Xian and Zheng Miao came to look for Chu Kuangren, many people were already paying attention to what would happen next. "Chu Kuangren, I'm here for the same reason as Yuan Xian. Please return Acheron Manor's Blood Dragon Claw and 9 Profound Heavens Fire Barrier, Jing Miao said. Compared to Craggy Ocean Tower, Acheron Manor had suffered more losses. A total of 2 quasi-emperor weapons. Interesting. Acheron Manor, Craggy Ocean Tower, you guys are the first ones to come to me. Alright, let's cut the crap and come at me together. I still need to go back for dinner later. Chu Kuangren said casually. When the two of them heard this, they looked at each other in bewilderment. Did Chu Kuangren really have the confidence to deal with them? I'd like to see how you're going to deal with a person who's been sealed by the heavenly punishment seal without the slightest bit of spiritual power. Without another word, Jing Miao made the first move. As he opened his palm, a cold and sinister Daoist rhyme circulated and turned into a pale skeletal claw. Accompanied by an eerie gust of wind, it grabbed at Chu Kuangren. The moment Zheng Miao made his move, Yuan Xian glared at Chu Kuangren and channeled his spiritual power, ready to attack at any time. Not only him, but the great ones who were secretly observing were also paying close attention. This was an important opportunity to determine whether Chu Kuangren had broken the seal or not, so they could not afford to miss it. The skeletal claw reached out, but Chu Kuangren was still sitting on the spot. Suddenly, golden runes appeared in front of him like a magnificent poem and turned into a runic wall that easily blocked the giant claw. Is this a runic technique? There's no spiritual power. What's going on? The great ones who were secretly observing could not help but be shocked. Meanwhile, Yuan Xian and Zheng Miao stared at Chu Kuangren in shock. When Zheng Miao's skeletal claw was blocked, Yuan Xian and the 2 sages behind him immediately made their moves. 3 Daoist rhymes of the same origin instantly erupted, transforming into 3 ferocious essence soul realm beasts that attacked from 3 different directions. I'm tired of seeing your tricks. Chu Kuangren shook his head. With a lift of his arm, streaks of golden runes condensed into a runic greatsword in the void. With a surge of surging sword-based Daoist rhyme, the greatsword slashed out violently. Gengjin Sword. The incomparably sharp sword Qi directly tore apart the 3 essence soul ferocious beasts that were pouncing over, and the dispersing energy strength Qi even sent Yuan Xian and the 2 sages flying. The entire restaurant was almost cut in half by the sword Qi. How could this be? What a powerful rune sword Qi. This guy didn't use any spiritual power. How did he do it? Yuan Xian, Jing Miao, and the others narrowed their eyes. Let's attack again. He doesn't have the slightest fluctuation of spiritual power. It must be because the heavenly punishment seal hasn't been broken yet. Without spiritual power, his battle prowess must be far from what it used to be. Yuan Xian said, then he activated the mountain and sea origin spirit. A ferocious beast bestial soul with emerald eyes in the shape of a ferocious tiger appeared. It was an ancient ferocious beast, the turquoise-eyed tiger. Although it was not as powerful as the 9-headed snakelet or the serpent, it was still very rare. Beside Yuan Xian, the 2 sages had also summoned their mountain and sea origin spirits. Suddenly, there were 3 more sages with S-grade combat strength. That was the strongest aspect of the Craggy Ocean Tower cultivators. They had the mountain and sea origin spirits, which was equivalent to double their combat strength. Zheng Miao did not want to be outdone. Eye of Acheron. The Acheron Manor's Emperor technique was instantly unleashed. A gigantic blood-colored eye appeared in the void and turned into a demonic ray that struck out. The 3 great mountain and sea origin spirits and the demonic ray all rushed out. Its vast power caused the surrounding void to tremble and the entire street to tremble. 5 elemental swords. Chu Kuangren slowly raised his hand. The surrounding spiritual qi surged and turned into 5 different colored rune swords. The majestic 5 elemental sword qi swept out like a violent storm. The so-called Tao of runes was to understand the Daoist rhymes contained in nature and to summarize their trajectories to form runes. The 5 elemental Tao was also a part of nature. Chu Kuangren could easily condense the 5 elemental runes and integrate them with his own sword-based Daoist rhymes to form these incredibly powerful 5 elemental swords. The 5 elemental sword qi swept across the entire place. The mountain and sea origin spirits and the Acheron demonic ray were easily destroyed, but the 5 elemental sword qi did not shatter. Instead, it surrounded Yuan Xian and the others, sealing off their escape routes. Take care, I won't be sending you off. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and pressed down. The 5 elemental sword qi shuttled back and forth in the void, and in the blink of an eye, it had stabbed the few people at the scene a few times. Screams of agony could be heard. Blood spurted out like arrows. Chu Kuangren, how dare you? Stop. 2 angry roars came from the void. Then, 2 surges of Daoist rhymes erupted and locked onto Chu Kuangren's body. It was the wrath of a sage ruler. Although they were not there, their spiritual thoughts could lock onto Chu Kuangren from thousands of kilometers away and warn him. However, Chu Kuangren would not be afraid even if they were standing right in front of him, let alone these 2 puny spiritual thoughts. Chu Kuangren did not care about that at all. The Daoist rhyme that was contained in those 2 surges of spiritual thoughts had no effect on him at all. With just a lift of his arm, Jing Miao, Yuan Xian, and the 2 sages from the craggy ocean tower were brutally killed by his runic sword qi. He slowly stood up. His tall and slender body was like a divine sword that revealed its sharpness, and his sword-based Daoist rhymes swept across the heavens and earth. I know that all of you have been observing and guessing at me. You want to know if I've broken the heavenly punishment seal? What kind of combat strength can I unleash? There's no need to guess. Why don't you try it yourself? If you don't have the guts to, then wait for me to pay you a visit. When that time comes, all of you will know what kind of strength I have. Especially the orthodoxies that participated in the battle against the Black Heaven sect back then. Please prepare yourselves. Chu Kuangren said to the void. He was issuing a challenge to the few forces that encircled the Black Heaven sect back then. He still remembered what happened back then, so he would not let it slide so easily. The great ones who were observing in the dark were shocked when they heard what he said. Back then, the 6 great unknown lands had joined forces with a 1,000,000-strong cultivator army to encircle the Black Heaven sect. However, Chu Kuangren single-handedly stopped them from leaving the Black Heaven sect. That incident was still fresh in many people's minds. This time, after Chu Kuangren left the Black Heaven sect, he would seek revenge from the 6 great unknown lands one by one. How arrogant! He may have such a strange runic technique, but he's still under the heavenly punishment seal. Although the heavenly golden palace and the other orthodoxies suffered heavy losses back then, they still have a strong foundation. I'm sure that they still have sage rulers among them. If he goes after them, it's no different from seeking death. That's right. Does he still think he's the same maniac from 3 years ago? If he dares to go to the craggy ocean tower, he'll definitely fall. I'd like to see how badly he'll fall. Now that he's out, he's going to wreak havoc in this world. Some were looking forward to it, some were disdainful, and some were lamenting. Meanwhile, orthodoxies like the craggy ocean tower and Acheron Manor were so furious that they were trembling. They even announced that they would never forgive Chu Kuangren. Chapter 442. After killing Yuan Xian and Zheng Miao, Chu Kuangren was ready to leave the royal Azure dynasty. He had many things to do after leaving the Black Heaven sect, and taking revenge on the 6 great unknown lands was only one of them. In just a few days, news of Chu Kuangren announcing that he would seek revenge from the craggy ocean tower, Acheron Manor, and the other top-notch orthodoxies spread like wildfire. Many people were waiting to see what would happen. Everyone knew that although Chu Kuangren had yet to break the heavenly punishment seal, he still had a way to use runic power. The only thing that caught people's attention was how strong was his runic mastery? In the grand hall of the heavenly golden palace. Just like 3 years ago, a meeting was held to deal with Chu Kuangren. The sect leaders of the 6 top-notch orthodoxies were gathered together. Chu Kuangren has re-entered the realm. Everyone, there's no turning back now. He must die. The new palace lord of the heavenly golden palace, Sage Ruler Changqin, said. Like Sage Ruler Changqin, the other 5 orthodoxies sect leaders had the same thought. The Acheron Manor Lord said, killing Chu Kuangren is easier said than done. He has too many tricks up his sleeve. That's right. I thought that he would not be able to recover from the setback of the heavenly punishment seal, but I didn't expect that he would get a strange talisman technique from somewhere. He can activate the power of the talisman without using spiritual power. His strength is not to be underestimated. Just like 3 years ago, he killed saints as easily as killing dogs. There's no spiritual energy on him, so the heavenly punishment seal is not broken. That's for sure. The only thing we need to do now is to figure out how strong he is with this runic technique. How can we kill him if we don't figure that out? Sage ruler Changqin, the heavenly golden palace has the strongest resources here. Why don't you go ahead and test him out? If you can kill him, that would be great. If not, you should be able to protect yourself with your strength. Sage ruler Changqin said. The sacred palace of Death's palace, Lord said. Sage ruler Changqin was displeased. The sacred palace of death claims to be above life and death. Why don't you go? Why don't we let Xiao Jingchen go? Isn't he from the 9 heavens? Not only that, but he's also the 3rd-ranked Sky Pride on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. If he makes a move, he'll definitely be able to overpower Chu Kuangren and take the 1st-ranked spot on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard at the same time. With the blessing of such luck, becoming an emperor is almost guaranteed. The young master is in seclusion and can't participate. They discussed among themselves, but none of them could come up with a good plan. No one wanted to make the first move against Chu Kuangren. That was an existence that couldn't be measured with common sense. Once he made a move, if he didn't have full confidence, he would simply be sending himself to his death. How about this? Since no one wants to make the first move, we'll put up a bounty and have others deal with him on our behalf. Netherworld Manor Lord said indifferently. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard this. All right, we'll do as you say. Also, Chu Kuangren has 2 emperor weapons with him, but he's currently under the heavenly punishment seal, so he can't use them. If we spread this news, I'm sure many people will be tempted, the bottomless chasm dweller said. Congratulations. Host, you've drawn an immortal special ability, Space Conveyor. High up in the sky, Chu Kuangren was sitting on the elusive mirage and doing his lucky draw. The prize that he drew surprised him quite a bit. God-tier divine ability. This was very rare. After all this time, the number of God-tier prizes he had drawn could be said to be few and far between, but every single one of them had been of great help to him. The immortal body, the eye of revelation, the universal cauldron physique, these were all important things that he relied on in his cultivation journey. Now, he had another God-tier divine ability, the Space Conveyor. Chu Kuangren took a look at it and realized that this divine ability was mainly targeted towards spatial energy. In simple terms, it overlapped the space and transported an object from one space to another. The object could be a person, an object, or something else. In short, it was a very practical and powerful divine ability. Unfortunately, this divine ability required a powerful cultivation base to activate. Chu Kuangren was still under the heavenly punishment seal, so he couldn't use it yet. There's still one more layer to the 9-layered heavenly punishment seal. With the refining speed of the universal cauldron physique, I guess I'll need another month to completely unseal it, Chu Kuangren murmured as he sensed the heavenly punishment seal within his body. A month was not a long time. 3 years had passed, so 1 month was not a big deal to him. After all, the combat strength that he could unleash with his mind power and runic techniques was not much weaker than 3 years ago. Otherwise, how would he dare to declare revenge on the 6 great orthodoxies? Master, Chitai Mountain is just up ahead. Lan Yu walked up to Chu Kuangren and said with a map in her hand as she looked at the undulating mountains below the elusive mirage. Okay, got it. Chitai Mountain. This was the location of the Emperor's opportunity of fortune that Yin Li had given him. Chu Kuangren had come here to claim that opportunity of fortune. However, when he arrived at Chitai Mountain, he felt a sense of familiarity. It felt like he had been here before. Master, don't you think this place looks a little familiar? Yeah, Lan Yu, you feel the same way too? I think I've been here before. Chu Kuangren pondered for a while before he shook his head. Perhaps I've been here before during my travels. Forget it, let's ignore it. When the two of them drove the elusive mirage closer to Chitai Mountain, they realized that there were many people there who had sealed off the entire mountain. That surprised Chu Kuangren. Has the Emperor's opportunity of fortune been discovered? He kept the elusive mirage and quietly approached with Lan Yu. The cultivators who had sealed off Chitai Mountain along the way did not notice them. Those cultivators were mostly golden core and nascent soul cultivators. With Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu's abilities, it was a piece of cake for them to sneak in. Chu Kuangren had also discovered their identities. They were from an honorable orthodoxy called the Jadewater sect. And this Chitai Mountain was the enemy's territory. At this point, Chu Kuangren finally remembered why Chitai Mountain felt so familiar. He had indeed been here before. Isn't the Jadewater sect one of the people who went to pick a fight with my honorable teacher during his ascension? I remember they were beaten into submission and became a subsidiary force of the Black Heaven sect, Chu Kuangren said in realization. He was the one who led the team during that battle. However, when the Heavenly Golden Palace and the other forces surrounded the Black Heaven Palace, many forces announced that they had cut ties with the Black Heaven sect in order to protect themselves. The Jadewater sect was one of them. Yeah, I remember now. Lan Yu frowned. Back in the Jadewater sect, there was a woman who kept pestering you, Master. I gave her a warning in the end. Is that true? Chu Kuangren blinked. How could he not remember? She's just an unimportant person. It's good that you don't remember her, Master. She's not worthy of being remembered anyway. Lan Yu said. Soon, the two of them broke through the Jadewater sect's blockade and arrived at the depths of Chitai Mountain. There, they saw a strange light screen. The light screen was filled with dense spatial fluctuations. It looked like it was connected to some secret realm. Oh, the seal has disappeared, Chu Kuangren said in surprise. According to Yin Li, the Emperor's opportunity of fortune that he discovered was sealed with a seal that he could not break. That was why he left temporarily. However, it seemed like someone else had beaten him to it. Does the Jadewater sect have the ability to break the seal placed by an emperor? Chu Kuangren grinned. He initially thought it would be a boring treasure hunt where he would just take the item and leave. Now, things seem to be getting interesting. Chapter 443. Emperor's Secret Realm. In a splendid palace. Two men and a woman were looking at a golden book in front of them, their faces filled with fanaticism. The book was emanating waves of Emperor's might. Obviously, it was an Emperor scripture. Beside the Emperor Sutra were two treasured medicines that had an incomparably dense life force circulating around them. These were two Emperor-level treasured medicines. Apart from that, there were all sorts of treasures in the palace. All of them were saint-grade treasures. Green Mist Fairy, Spirit Blood Child, here are two supreme elixirs and an Emperor scripture. I'll be taking them. You can split the rest. A young man in a gray robe said. There was a strange aura of death circulating around this person's body. Gui Wuchou, this imperial scripture is the greatest treasure here. Aren't you asking for too much by taking it all at once? Blood Spirit Child said in a deep voice. What? Do you have any objections? The two of you are ranked 56th and 61st on the Hidden Dragon list? Gui Wuchou sneered, a hint of disdain in his eyes. His words made the two of them look even worse. However, the opponent was a prodigy ranked 34th on the Hidden Dragon ranking after all. With their strength, it was indeed very difficult to fight against him, so they didn't act rashly. At least you know what's good for you. If it weren't for the restriction-breaking talisman in my hand, we wouldn't have been able to come in. But if it wasn't for the fact that my Jade Watersword sect has sealed this place off, the Emperor's opportunity of fortune would have long spread out. Reluctance was written all over Green Mist Fairy's face. Blood Spirit, who was at the side, looked at the Emperor's scripture in Gui Wuchou's hands with a fervent look, but also a hint of fear towards Gui Wuchou. This made Gui Wuchou feel very good. Seeing people who were obviously very angry at him, but unable to do anything about it, it felt so good. He could not help but recall how he felt about Chu Kuangren a few years ago. Not only him, but all the sky prides of that era probably felt the same way about Chu Kuangren. *CK. Why did he think of this damned fellow? Gui Wuchou cursed inwardly. Suddenly, a look of astonishment appeared on his face. He felt as if his body was becoming limp and powerless. The spiritual energy in his body also had a soft feeling. He looked like he was drunk. He was ambushed. Gui Wuchou's expression changed drastically. He raised his hand and channeled his spiritual energy toward Green Mist Fairy and Xianxia. However, for some unknown reason, his attack was too slow due to his weakened state. Xianxia managed to land a palm strike on him first. He didn't hold back at all. A terrifying power erupted in an instant, sending Gui Wuchou flying. Puff! Gui Wuchou spat out a mouthful of blood and his aura weakened. "What did you do to me?" "Ah, sorrowful wind softening, this is my unique skill. Unless it's someone with a cultivation far higher than mine, they won't be able to sense anything even if they get hit." "Gui Wuchou, how does it feel?" Green Mist Fairy said with a sweet smile. Xianxia, who was beside her, stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. The two of them seemed to be deeply in love with each other, which made Gui Wuchou's face turn extremely ugly. "This was all part of your plan." "That's right. Otherwise, why would I use your restriction-breaking talisman to break this seal? Do you really think that I can't do anything to you just because you're ranked 31st on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard?" Green Mist Fairy laughed. "Bitch. Ha, Master Blood Spirit, kill him." "All right." Master Blood Spirit attacked immediately. Born in the Yuxia clan, he possessed the supreme spiritual blood Daoist physique and was no weaker than anyone else. Over the years, his strength had improved by leaps and bounds by relying on some opportunities. Meanwhile, Gui Wuchou's combat strength was greatly reduced after being hit by the sorrowful wind softening. Even though his ranking on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard was far higher than Master Blood Spirit, there was nothing he could do now. "Be ****, you forced me to do this." Gui Wuchou yelled and pushed the deathly aura to its limit. He had activated some kind of secret technique to forcibly increase his strength. Finger of Despair. As he pointed his finger, the suppressive aura of an emperor technique filled the air. Master Blood Spirit's expression changed. He did not expect his opponent's counterattack to be so powerful. He dared not be careless and used his most powerful skill as well. Blood Drain Technique. A blood-colored palm energy suddenly burst out. The two forces collided and the recoil force hit Gui Wuchou and Master Blood Spirit, severely injuring them at the same time. As expected of the 31st on the Hidden Dragon leaderboard. Your combat strength is still not to be underestimated. Master Blood Spirit looked solemnly at Gui Wuchou, who was half kneeling on the ground with a pale face. Gui Wuchou no longer had the strength to fight back. At the same time, he was also severely injured and had less than 20% of his combat strength left. "Yeah, kill him quickly," Master Blood Spirit said to Green Mist Fairy. "All right." Green Mist Fairy, who was standing beside him, immediately attacked. She thrust her sword forward with billowing Daoist rhymes, but her target was Master Blood Spirit. The long sword pierced through Master Blood Spirit's chest. He looked at the tip of the sword protruding out of his chest in disbelief. The long sword was pulled out, and an arrow of blood spurted out. Master Blood Spirit turned around and staggered a few steps back. The sword wound on his chest was flowing with Daoist rhymes, constantly eroding his body. "Yen, why are you doing this? Idiot, don't you understand? She's trying to monopolize this opportunity of fortune of emperor." Gui Wuchou sneered. "That's right. It's better for one person to monopolize than 3 people or 2 people," Green Mist Fairy said with a smile as she held her sword. She had a pretty face and was dressed in green. She looked pure and cute, like a pretty girl from a humble family. However, her heart was as vicious as a scorpion's. Master Blood Spirit was so angry that his face turned pale. "You, all those vows of undying love that you told me back then, were they all fake?" "No way, you actually took it for real." Green Mist sneered. "There's no such thing as vows of undying love in this world. Those were just lies to trick you into helping me cultivate. You bitch." Master Blood Spirit trembled. "What a joke. I didn't expect that I, Gui Wuchou, would be toyed with by a bitch." Gui Wuqiu mocked himself. Both he and Master Blood Spirit were severely injured and were no match for Green Mist Fairy. All right, prepare to die. Green Mist Fairy raised her sword and was about to kill the two of them. However, at that moment, a round of applause was heard. Two people walked slowly into the palace. The one who was clapping was the man who was walking in front. He was dressed in white and had black hair, and he was handsome. Upon seeing these two people, the three people at the scene were shocked. It was Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu. What a good show. I didn't expect to witness such a good show. How rare. Chu Kuangren chuckled after applauding. It's you. Green Mist Fairy's face was filled with hatred as she looked at the two people. I didn't expect you to have the guts to appear before me. But that's good too. Chu Kuangren, I heard that you've been sealed by the heavenly punishment seal. I want you to pay me back for all the humiliation you've given me back then. I want you to kneel before me and lick my toes, Green Mist Fairy said with a venomous expression. Chu Kuangren was stunned. Who is this? Why does she hate me so much? Beside him, Lan Yu's eyes flashed coldly. Master, can you hand this bitch over to me? Of course. Deal with her yourself. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. He was confident that Lan Yu could deal with this Green Mist Fairy. Whoosh! Lan Yu's figure flashed and turned into a stream of light. He grabbed Green Mist Fairy by the neck and dragged her out of the palace. Then, a powerful energy fluctuation erupted outside the palace. It was obvious that the two people were already fighting. Chapter 444. Inside the Emperor's Palace. Gui Wuqiu and the Spirit Blood Child were shocked to see Chu Kuangren suddenly appear before them. They did not expect him to show up here at all. This was especially so for Gui Wuqiu. He was still reminiscing about the time when he was suppressed by Chu Kuangren to the point where he could not even lift his head. Yet the next moment, Chu Kuangren appeared right in front of him. However, Chu Kuangren did not care about them. He looked around the palace and the treasures around him calmly. After seeing so many treasures, he was now very resistant to them. Even Sage Ruler-grade treasures could not tempt him. Only when he saw the Emperor-grade Supreme Elixir and Emperor Scripture did he reveal a hint of surprise. Oh, Emperor-grade Supreme Elixir. Not bad, but I wonder what they do. Each Supreme Elixir had its own uses. Some were used to increase one's cultivation level, some were used to improve one's aptitude, and some were used to heal injuries. Gui Wuqiu and the Spirit Blood Child looked at Chu Kuangren, who did not care about them at all. Their faces turned red and green. That kind of disregard made them feel very unhappy. What did he mean? Did he not care about them at all? After all, they were Sky Prides on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. Spirit Blood Child, did you notice anything unusual about him? Gui Wuqiu asked the Spirit Blood Child through his spiritual thought. Yes, I did. There's no trace of spiritual power on him. It seems that his heavenly punishment seal is not broken yet. That's a seal that even the emperors of old were helpless against. How could he possibly break it? Gui Wuqiu sneered. This is an opportunity. You mean? The Spirit Blood Child's expression changed. While those two women are not here, kill Chu Kuangren, take the Emperor's opportunity of fortune and leave, Gui Wuqiu said. Although they were injured, it was still a piece of cake for them to kill an ordinary person without any cultivation. The Spirit Blood Child could not help but hesitate. This is an Emperor's opportunity of fortune. Are you really willing to give it up? Also, don't you want to take revenge on that B*TCH? Gui Wuqiu said. Let's attack together. The Spirit Blood Child gritted his teeth and said. All right. The two of them struggled to prop themselves up. They looked at each other and channeled their spiritual energies at the same time to attack Chu Kuangren's back. Why are you courting death? Chu Kuangren shook his head. Runes condensed behind him and turned into a golden light screen, isolating the two's power behind him. How could this be? Rune. Both of their expressions changed drastically. They had been staying in Chitai Mountain for the past few days and were not very clear about some of the rumors in the outside world. Hence, they did not know that Chu Kuangren could use runes. The sudden appearance of the runes caught the two of them off guard. The powerful force landed on the light barrier and was reflected back. Puff puff. The two of them spat out mouthfuls of blood as they were blasted several dozen feet away. How can there be runes? Wasn't he sealed? Both of their faces were filled with confusion. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren had already kept all the treasures around him into his yin and yang ring. He then turned around and looked at them with an indifferent expression. He raised his hand, and two rune swords suddenly condensed. Not good. The two of them got up and tried to escape. However, the rune swords had already pierced through the air and pierced their bodies in the blink of an eye. They exploded and turned into a mist of blood. After that, Chu Kuangren got up and walked out of the palace. Outside the palace, Green Mist Fairy was lying on the ground. Her clothes were torn and messy, and her pretty face was red and swollen. Her mouth was full of blood as if she had been slapped dozens of times. I'm going to kill you. Green Mist Fairy glared at Lan Yu with extreme hatred. A few years ago, you tried to seduce my master. Perhaps I should have killed you then. I can't believe you've grown so much in just a few years. How many men have you hooked up with along the way? Lan Yu said indifferently. However, her words pierced straight into Green Mist Fairy's heart. A few years ago, she failed to seduce Chu Kuangren in the Jade Water sect and was banished from the sect. In the past few years, she had been climbing up the ranks at all costs. It was normal for her to sell her body. With the help of some opportunities of fortune, she finally achieved the strength and status she had today. When she returned to the Jade Water sect, she brutally killed the sect leader who had banished her years ago and took control of the sect. She called herself Green Mist Fairy. However, Chu Kuangren's reappearance had reminded her of that terrible past. The strength that she had risked everything to obtain and the strength that she was so proud of was nothing in front of Lan Yu. D***it, Green Mist Fairy raised her sword and stabbed at Lan Yu. However, she was sent flying with a single punch. At that moment, Chu Kuangren had just walked out of the palace. He was surprised to see Green Mist Fairy in such a sorry state. He had rarely seen Lan Yu treat someone like that. It seemed like Lan Yu hated this person very much. But who is this person? She looks familiar. Chu Kuangren took a few more glances at her and seemed to have remembered something. He finally remembered who she was, but he did not mind it. Master Chu, please spare me. I won't do it again. At that moment, Green Mist Fairy crawled to Chu Kuangren's feet. Chu Kuangren took 2 steps back. He looked at her with an indifferent and merciless expression. Master Chu, I'm sorry. Green Mist Fairy was still begging for mercy. You're begging for mercy while casting your secret technique. You're quite the playboy, Chu Kuangren suddenly said. Upon hearing that, Green Mist Fairy's expression changed. She suddenly lunged and grabbed Chu Kuangren, trying to subdue him. At the same time, her body released a surge of Daoist rhyme that ordinary cultivators would not be able to detect. It was her unique ultimate technique, the Sorrow Wind Softener. How foolish! Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a runic sword that sent Green Mist Fairy flying. How is this possible? How can you not be affected by my Sorrow Wind Softener? Green Mist Fairy said in disbelief. Ever since she had mastered the Sorrow Wind Softener, this was her first failure. I just need to be prepared. Chu Kuangren said. His spiritual thoughts were extremely sensitive. Others might not be able to detect the Sorrow Wind Softener's Daoist rhyme, but it was a piece of cake for him. As long as he used his mind power to isolate the Daoist rhyme, he would not be affected. Run! Green Mist Fairy's face was filled with fear. She was no match for Lan Yu alone. Now that Chu Kuangren, who could use runic energy, was here, she would definitely die. She dashed out of the secret realm. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and was about to finish her off. However, at that moment, a white spear of light suddenly shot out from beside him and pierced towards Green Mist Fairy. Just as Green Mist Fairy was about to leave the secret realm, the white spear pierced through the air and struck her, sending her flying. With a few loud explosions, she smashed through several mountains. Finally, she was pinned onto a mountain wall. Inside the secret realm, Lan Yu dispersed the light-based Daoist rhyme on her body. This person is not worth dying in your hands. Let me do it for you. All right. Chu Kuangren was stunned for a moment before he nodded. It seemed that Lan Yu really hated this green mist fairy. Chu Kuangren would have to kill her himself. Chapter 445. In Chitai Mountain, the Jade Water sect had sealed off the area. They all knew that Green Mist Fairy had obtained some kind of great opportunity of fortune. However, they would not even be able to smell it, let alone taste it. Ever since Green Mist Fairy became the Jade Water sect leader, they had never had a good day. To her, they were just tools. However, there was nothing they could do. After all, she was a sky pride on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. I wonder what kind of *T luck this T's chest to obtain such an opportunity of fortune. The heavens are really blind. One of the Jade Water sect disciples could not help but mutter. At that moment, a white light suddenly flashed past. One by one, the mountains exploded into pieces. A figure was pinned to the mountain wall by a white spear. The Jade Water sect disciples immediately looked over. Their pupils shrank, and they could not help but gasp. That's Green Mist Fairy. Who did this? Who did this? Although the Jade Water sect disciples were very displeased with Green Mist Fairy, they had to admit that as a sky pride on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard, her combat strength was extremely strong. Her strength was even close to that of the older generation. However, such a person was now pinned to the mountain wall. Two people slowly walked out of the secret realm not far away. When the Jade Water sect disciples saw these two people, their faces turned pale, and they took a few steps back in fear. It's him. When did he come? Whoosh! Lan Yu's figure flashed and appeared on the mountain wall. He raised his hand and formed another white spear, and a piercing Daoist rhyme gushed out. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Green Mist Fairy could not help but beg for mercy, her face filled with fear. However, Lan Yu raised his spear and brought it down. A mist of blood exploded, and Green Mist Fairy's head exploded on the spot. Spare me, sect leader. Spare me. At that moment, an elder suddenly knelt in front of Chu Kuangren, his body trembling. Sect leader, we didn't mean to betray the Black Heaven sect. This was all done by the previous Jade Water sect leader. We have nothing to do with it. Another elder knelt on the ground. From their point of view, Chu Kuangren was here to seek revenge. After all, when the Black Heaven sect was besieged by several major forces, not only did the Jade Water sect not help, but they also took the opportunity to become independent. Strictly speaking, this was a form of betrayal. As the elders knelt down one by one, none of the Jade Water Sword sect disciples dared to remain standing. The entire mountain was filled with people kneeling down. Let's go, Chu Kuangren said to Lan Yu. The two of them left Chitai Mountain. From the beginning to the end, he did not even glance at the group of Jade Water Sword sect disciples on the ground. To him, these people were insignificant characters, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were ants. No one would fight to the death with a few ants. When Chu Kuangren obtained the Emperor's opportunity of fortune at Chitai Mountain, a piece of news quickly spread throughout the entire firmament star. The 6 top-notch orthodoxies had placed a bounty on Chu Kuangren's head. As long as one could kill Chu Kuangren, no matter who it was, they would be rewarded handsomely by the 6 top-notch orthodoxies. Not only that, but the news of Chu Kuangren possessing 2 Emperor weapons had also spread, and many people were tempted by it. Although some Emperor's opportunities had appeared in the past few years, Emperor weapons were still very rare. Not many Emperor's opportunities had Emperor weapons. After all, Emperor weapons were very important to Emperors. When Emperors left their opportunities of fortune, they would rarely leave their weapons behind. However, Chu Kuangren alone had 2 Emperor weapons. 2 Emperor weapons were too tempting. Coupled with the bounty from the 6 top-notch orthodoxies, many cultivators in the firmament star were tempted. Chu Kuangren is now a walking treasure vault. If we can kill him, we'll be able to reap a lot of benefits. If it was before, not many people would dare to touch him. But now that he has the heavenly punishment seal on him, even if he can use those strange runic techniques, how much combat strength can he unleash? That's right. 2 emperor weapons and the generous rewards promised by the 6 top-notch orthodoxies are worth the risk. On Firmament Star, an undercurrent was surging. Many cultivators were searching for Chu Kuangren. However, under such circumstances, Chu Kuangren did not have the slightest intention of hiding his whereabouts. He continued to do whatever he wanted. After settling the matter at Chitai Mountain, his next target was the craggy ocean tower. In the past, when the craggy ocean tower was still in seclusion, it would not be easy to find them. However, things were different now. These unknown lands had appeared in the world one after another. They were no longer in hiding, and they were even openly promoting their orthodoxies. Most people in the world probably knew where they were. On his way to the craggy ocean tower, Chu Kuangren passed by a city. This city was called the Divine Predictor City. This was because an expert called the Divine Predictor lived in this city. The moment Chu Kuangren stepped into the Divine Predictor City, many of the strong cultivators in the city had already noticed him. Chu Kuangren is here in the Divine Predictor City. This guy doesn't even bother to hide his whereabouts. Does he not know what kind of situation he's in? It seems like he really doesn't care about us. Chu Kuangren was not bothered by the spiritual thoughts that scanned his body. He continued to wander the streets with Lan Yu. Along the way, they attracted the attention of many people. However, the 2 of them who were in the eye of the storm did not seem to notice it at all. They continued eating and playing until they reached the entrance of the Divine Predictor Pavilion. Chu Kuangren looked up at the soaring dragon leaderboard that was floating above the Divine Predictor Pavilion and curled his lips. What a fancy thing! He was not surprised that he was ranked first on the soaring dragon leaderboard. The best in the world. Wasn't he already the best? Inside the Divine Predictor Pavilion, the Divine Predictor sat on a futon with mysterious Daoist rhymes surrounding him. Countless scenes changed within the Daoist rhymes. If any great ones were here, they would be shocked to see this scene. These scenes included the past, the future, and the present. This was the power of the Divine Predictor. Oh, an important guest has arrived. As if sensing something, the Divine Predictor retracted the Daoist rhymes on his body. He said to a young boy outside the door, "How you? There's an important guest outside. Help me welcome him." The young boy was very surprised. For the past few years, countless people had tried to enter the Divine Predictor Pavilion. Everyone wanted to enter to find the Divine Predictor so that he could predict their fortunes. However, not a single one of them had succeeded. The Divine Predictor Pavilion must not be revealed. The Divine Predictor rarely left the Divine Predictor Pavilion. Aside from Chen Fugue, who helped him build the Divine Predictor Pavilion, he never saw anyone else. Not to mention an important guest who took the initiative to welcome him. Yes. How you dared not delay and quickly left the Divine Predictor Pavilion. Meanwhile, outside the Divine Predictor Pavilion, Chu Kuangren's personal visit had attracted a lot of attention. Do you guys think Chu Kuangren can enter? I don't know. For the past few years, countless people have tried to enter the Divine Predictor Pavilion to meet the Divine Predictor. However, aside from Chen Fugue, that stinking merchant, no one else has been able to enter. Chu Kuangren is probably in a precarious situation. Who knows? He's ranked first on the Soaring Dragon leaderboard. Tisk, now that the 6 great orthodoxies have put a bounty on him, who knows if he'll survive? Perhaps the Divine Predictor Pavilion doesn't want to see him. That you're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.